Long Chun hastily looked to the left and saw an enormous white rhinoceros with a golden horn. It was running through the air as it pulled a flying boat. The rhinoceros's skin was snow-white, and upon closer inspection, Long Chun could see porcelain-like scales covering its body. But then, the cracks between the scales were so small and smooth, so they looked more like a solid hide than scales. A pair of golden horns adorned its head, covered in runes that gave off a beautiful light. A full-moon gold horn rhinoceros. When Long Chun saw the rhinoceros, his heart trembled. This beast also bore a primal chaos bloodline, with an aura that rivaled the Qilin horn heaven-swallowing sparrow. A massive golden flying boat rested on the rhinoceros's back, with a dragon-emblazoned flag flapping above it. When Long Chun saw the two characters on the flag, soaring dragon, his expression turned odd. Enemies really do cross paths often, Long Chun mused. He hadn't expected to encounter people from the Soaring Dragon Company here. The flag was unmistakably their symbol. I was wondering who it was. So, it's the illustrious and famous Wind God Sea Pavilion. Are you also planning on entering the Wind Domain battlefield? A sharp, shrill voice came from the flying boat, dripped with mockery. Figures appeared atop the flying boat. Men and women, young and old. Their leader was a middle-aged woman with hair tied up high in a regal fashion. Unfortunately, she wasn't blessed with a pleasant face. Her expression was icy, and her eyebrows were so high they looked like they were about to jump off her head. Moreover, her sharp chin seemed as if it could cut anyone who dared look directly at it. The disdain in her tone, especially with that last question, was clear. In any case, the Wind Domain battlefield belonged to the Wind God Sea Pavilion, so why wouldn't they be here? Liao Qingyu, it seems that time hasn't done anything for that vile mouth of yours, Yi Lingkong said, frowning slightly as he looked at her. With his back still reclining on the Qilin horn heaven-swallowing sparrow's back, he continued, Tell me, how much trouble has that mouth brought you? Are you a pig incapable of learning a lesson? This woman was a notable figure from the Soaring Dragon Company. Using their immense wealth, this group of vile merchants had inserted their spies into the various large factions, including the fake Wind God Sea Pavilion. They had bribed the assistant pavilion masters and wanted to cause chaos to win over popular opinion and seize control eventually. Indeed, money was power. The Soaring Dragon Company had already taken control of several ancient sects in the Heaven Essence world, making them puppets. Liao Qingyu's group belonged to one such faction, the Divine Marchgate, a sect with a legacy dating back to the immemorial era. However, the Soaring Dragon Company had seized it thousands of years ago. However, instead of running the Divine March Gate into decline, the company poured immense resources into it, spurring a new golden age. The sect kept its original name, but when they went out on missions, they had to carry the symbol of the Soaring Dragon Company. All this was to set up a model for other sects to see. In other words, they were flaunting the promise that under the Soaring Dragon Company's banner, rather than declining, they would thrive. The Divine March Gate was the prime example. With the huge sums being spent on it, the sect was now filled with powerful experts and heavenly geniuses. It had gone from a second-tier sect to a first-tier one, and now brazenly claimed it would soon rival supreme sects like the Wind God Sea Pavilion. When a person's light spread limitlessly, they would get blindly arrogant. She had originally been a guild leader within the Soaring Dragon Company, but was transferred to become a vice sect master of the Divine March Gate. From her words and demeanor alone, it was obvious that Liao Qingyu lacked any aptitude to become a businesswoman. In any case, within the Divine March Gate, she no longer needed to negotiate or compromise. Her word was now law. As the sect's power grew, so did Liao Qingyu's ego. Each time she spoke, what came out was unrestrained contempt and disdain. Of course, with her character, she had run into many tough nails. She had also been put in her place several times by people who didn't fear the Soaring Dragon Company. Yi Lingkong, in particular, had crossed paths with her on 3 separate occasions, yet her character never changed. Today, as expected, she was quick to mock them, rousing his irritation. Though Yi Lingkong was the left emissary of the Wind God, he wasn't one to flaunt his status needlessly. Still, He had his pride and didn't care to argue with someone who bickered like a common shrew. Nor did he find it worth his effort to strike her down as a lesson. Though she held the same cultivation realm as he did, the Soaring Dragon Company's expertise lay in scheming and manipulation. But which true experts actually grew through scheming? Seeing her now, Yi Lingkong felt a headache brewing. Hence, he simply gave a brief, icy reply before urging the Qilin Horn Heaven Swallowing Sparrow forward, choosing to ignore this shrew entirely. Liao Qingyu didn't take note of Yi Lingkong's mocking, and instead turned her gaze mockingly toward Tang Wan'er and the others. She mocked, "Oh, what's this? Isn't the Wind God Sea Pavilion supposed to have 8 divine sons and 8 divine daughters who are said to be 1-in-1,000-year geniuses? Why would you send a group of girls instead? Are you afraid to send your divine sons and daughters after what happened to the last generation?" The Wind God Sea Pavilion's previous generation of divine sons and daughters had been completely wiped out, becoming the subject of ridicule. However, the insiders were well aware of the truth. The last generation's divine sons and divine daughters were just like this generation's, all specially raised and picked out by the corrupt assistant pavilion masters and wind divine elders. However, the last generation's divine sons and daughters were so lacking. As a result, they were sacrificed in the wind domain battlefield to make way for a new batch. In truth, this generation's divine sons and daughters didn't satisfy the real higher-ups either, deemed unable to become pillars of the Wind God Sea Pavilion. Like before, the higher-ups wanted to send them to the wind domain battlefield to die. In truth, the outrage and fury that the higher-ups had shown toward the deaths of the divine sons and divine daughters had been an act for everyone. Tang Wan'er couldn't hold back. "Shut your mouth. Just looking at you disgusts me." She turned to find Long Chun, intending to have him deal with Liao Qingyu. "Where is Long Chun?" Tang Wan'er asked in shock, realizing Long Chun was gone. "Big brother Long Chun, he?" Xiao Yu suddenly cried out, pointing at the rhinoceros, her eyes wide. Everyone followed the direction of her finger to see Long Chun at the rear of the rhinoceros, his black saber slicing toward its leg. The full moon gold horn rhinoceros and the Qilin Horn Heaven Swallowing Sparrow shot through the sky, both building up their energy. It seemed a clash was bound to happen because disciples from both sides were glaring daggers at each other, spurred by the heated exchange between Liao Qingyu and Yi Lingkong. While no one was paying attention, Long Chun slipped to the rear of the full moon gold horn rhinoceros. When Tang Wan'er and the others noticed him, Evil Moon slashed down in a flash of black light. The next moment, blood spurted as a chunk of flesh the size of a small mountain was cut from the rhino's massive right leg. Because the full moon gold horn rhinoceros was too focused on its opponent, it didn't sense Long Chun until it felt the sharp pain. It then let out a furious bellow as it jolted forward. Its reflex sent the flying boat soaring into the sky, and everyone on it was flung off. The sight stunned everyone present, Yi Lingkong included, who hadn't sensed Long Chun's movement at all. In truth, Long Chun had managed to appear behind the rhino only with the Earth Cauldron's assistance. Upon spotting the full moon gold horn rhinoceros, he suddenly recalled the unforgettable flavor of the beef soup he'd once had, courtesy of Long Ziwei. Eyeing the rhino's plump hind leg, he felt the overwhelming urge to take a piece. When he asked the Earth Cauldron for help, he'd half expected it to scold him for being crazy. But to his surprise, it agreed and asked him to gather some essence blood for refining pills. It appeared that the Earth Cauldron had its own interest in the full moon gold horn rhinoceros. Long Chun wasn't sure if the Earth Cauldron also had eyes on the Qilin Horn Heaven Swallowing Sparrow but was restrained from acting against it due to being on the same side. However, Long Chun couldn't care less. It was time to get some meat. So, while everyone's attention was elsewhere, the Earth Cauldron transported Long Chun directly behind the full moon gold horn rhinoceros. Long Chun carefully suppressed his aura until the very moment of attack, when his starry sea's power erupted. His saber then struck without warning, slicing off a massive chunk of flesh. Blood from the half-step demon emperor sprayed into the air, shocking everyone around. Liao Qingyu's face contorted with fury when she saw Long Chun. "You bastard, so it was you. Die!" she shrieked. recognizing him instantly as the thief of the Soaring Dragon Company's treasury. After all, Long Chen was on their wanted list. Her sharp claws tore through the air with deadly intent, sending a shiver down Long Chen's spine. It wasn't something he could block head-on. However, Long Chen didn't flinch. He simply reached out and grabbed the chunk of meat along with the essence blood. Boom! Yilinkong flicked his finger, shattering Liao Qingyu's claws with a gust of wind. The impact shook the ugly shrew, showing the difference in power. After all, this was her full-force attack against his casual gesture. Calmly, Long Chen returned to the Qilin Horn Heaven-Swallowing Sparrow's back, knowing that Yilinkong would block Liao Qingyu's strike. Furious, the full-moon gold horn rhinoceros glowed with rage, and its killing intent filled the air. But the Qilin Horn Heaven-Swallowing Sparrow had been ready for a fight from the start, and its wings now spread, bursting with a seven-colored radiance as its noble bloodline power erupted. "Control your rhino, or it'll end up as lunch," Yilinkong said flatly to Liao Qingyu. "Gold Horn, stop," Liao Qingyu ordered, knowing her beast was no match for the Qilin Horn Heaven-Swallowing Sparrow. She also knew that she couldn't beat Yilinkong. While her mouth was sharp, she would definitely be at a disadvantage if they were to fight. However, that didn't hinder her from snapping angrily at Yilinkong. "Yilinkong, what do you think you're doing? How dare you harbor a wanted criminal of the Soaring Dragon Company?" "Wanted criminal? Are you talking about him?" "No, he is a new disciple of the Wind God Sea Pavilion. His name is Long Chen, and he's not a wanted criminal, so you've got the wrong person," replied Yilinkong. "Bullshit. He stole the Soaring Dragon Company's treasury. Countless people saw it. Do you think you can refuse to admit it?" roared Liao Qingyu. Xiao Yu and the other hidden dragon warriors exchanged glances, now realizing that the treasury Long Chen had given them came from the Soaring Dragon Company. "Slander! How dare you accuse me of such lies?" shouted Long Chen in righteous indignation. "So you refuse to admit it?" demanded Liao Qingyu. Long Chen put his hands on his waist, righteously saying, "What kind of person do you think I, Long Chen, am? Am I the type of person to refuse to admit to my deeds? You say that I stole your Soaring Dragon Company's treasury? You're wrong. I clearly and honorably took it from you." Long Chen's retort was filled with indignation and outrage, causing Tang Wan'er to almost burst into laughter. His buffoon character was reappearing. Seeing Liao Qingyu quivering and ashen with rage, Tang Wan'er cheered inside. When it came to pissing people off, if Long Chen claimed to be number 2, no one would dare to say that they were number 1. Xiao Yu and the others also saw Liao Qingyu fuming, steam practically bursting out of her ears. They almost cheered out loud for Long Chen. Liao Qingyu was so enraged she didn't even know how to reply. She turned to Yilinkong. "Your Wind God Sea Pavilion is set on harboring a wanted criminal?" Yilinkong simply shook his head. "Our Wind God Sea Pavilion never harbors any wanted criminals. As I said, you have the wrong person." "Fine. Don't regret it," she spat before storming off with the full-moon gold horn rhinoceros. As they departed, a burly man turned to Long Chen and the others, his powerful aura crackling as he warned, "You dare provoke the Soaring Dragon Company? I'll take your head on the Wind Domain battlefield." This man's aura was powerful, and his gaze was electric, a sign of a powerful expert. Unfazed, Long Chen replied, "A little servant like you should keep quiet. You're not even qualified to speak here." "You!" Long Chen's words hit right where it hurt. Being called servants was especially insulting to the Divine Marchgate, as their alliance with the Soaring Dragon Company often drew such ridicule. "Go!" Liao Qingyu gritted her teeth and ordered her people to withdraw. Fighting here would only put them at a disadvantage. Their grudges would have to be settled on the Wind Domain battlefield. "Ha ha ha, before the big battle, I'll treat you to some good beef, rhino meat," shouted Long Chen. Liao Qingyu and the others hadn't gone far before they heard Long Chen's voice from behind. When they turned back to look, Long Chen pumped his fist in victory, driving them mad with anger. "Just you wait." Liao Qingyu gritted her teeth so hard that they were about to break. She quickened the pace, leaving before they really died of anger. Sizzle. Strips of blood-red rhino meat were roasting over a fire, with oil dripping from them, filling the air with an irresistible fragrance. The scent was so rich it felt like a spell. Anyone who smelled it instantly became hungry, drool dripping from their mouths. The smell! Tang Wanner exclaimed as she walked over. Seeing the palm-sized strips of rhino meat on the grill, she couldn't help but swallow hard. Most experts here hadn't eaten anything in years, relying instead on medicinal pills for sustenance. After all, cultivators didn't need to rely on food for energy. But this was different. It was meat from a full-moon gold-horn rhinoceros, a rare beast with a primal chaos bloodline. When Long Chen suggested cooking it, no one refused, but none had expected it to smell this good. It was naturally fragrant as it was the meat of a half-step demon emperor. Furthermore, as an alchemist, cooking was simple for Long Chen. He knew just what kind of ingredients to use to enhance the natural flavor of the meat. "Aren't you being a bit extravagant?" Yilinkong couldn't help but speak up, eyeing the grill. "You're using branches of the fusong tree as charcoal just to roast meat?" When Long Chen proposed cooking the meat, Yilinkong wasn't very interested, so he continued lying on the Qilin horn heaven-swallowing sparrow's head. But the bird was drawn over by the delicious smell, dragging him along. As Yilinkong approached, he was stunned by what he saw. Thick branches, each as wide as an arm and etched with mystical markings, were burning brightly, releasing powerful flame energy. He seemed to recognize those markings. Before this, Yilinkong had dismissed the idea because he knew how tough the meat of a half-step demon emperor could be. Biting into it would likely shatter one's teeth. But now, seeing the firewood, he realized Long Chen was serious. After studying the markings more closely, it dawned on him that they belonged to the legendary Fusong tree. The Fusong tree was a treasure cherished by flame cultivators, each branch as precious as life itself. A sliver of wood as thin as a finger was as valuable as a city. Yet Long Chen had used so much of it just for cooking. It was an extravagant use of a natural treasure. What can I say? Only flames of this caliber can truly release the meat's essence and lock in its flavor without wasting any. Good meat deserves good firewood, chuckled Long Chen. Incredible! Yilinkong was speechless. Long Chen handed a cooked skewer to Yilinkong and said, "If you weren't here, I wouldn't have dared to cut this meat. Here, the first skewer is for you." When Yilinkong received the meat skewer, his hand shuddered because of shock. "Is this not a strip of the moon tree?" asked Yilinkong, stupefied. "Fusong tree for firewood, moon tree for skewers." Long Chen's methods were unlike anything he'd ever seen. Even Yilinkong, the left emissary of the wind god, had never eaten anything so luxurious. As he bit into the meat, the expected toughness wasn't there. It broke apart like tofu, filling his mouth with a flavor so intense it seemed to reach his soul. After chewing a few times, the flavor struck his heart and spirit. When he swallowed, a warm current flowed through him, shocking him. After looking at Tang Wanner and the others, he gave Long Chen a thumbs up, impressed. Long Chen chuckled and didn't say anything. He then handed the second skewer to Tang Wanner, who had long since grown impatient. When she bit into it, her eyes widened. This was the best thing that she had ever tasted. The grill was very large, and there were plenty of skewers. Because Long Chen was too lazy to hand them out one by one, he told everyone to take the skewers themselves. Although the Hidden Dragon Legion was composed of over 7,000 people, they ate barely a fraction of the enormous piece he had prepared. Once everyone finished their skewers, they felt a sudden warmth spread through their bodies, almost like they were burning up. "Everyone, don't panic. Long Chen has activated the essence within the meat to stimulate the growth of your bodies. This won't cause any damage to you, but it might take a while. You'll get accustomed to it. Wind cultivators have weak physical bodies, and this helps to balance that. It's highly beneficial," said Yilinkong. Yilinkong's words showed just how impressed he was with Long Chen. He had never heard of this method before. If a wind cultivator could strengthen their body, then their fatal weakness would be gone. It was practically heaven-defying. When these female warriors grew up, their futures would be limitless. Then should we eat some more? Asked Xiao Yu excitedly. No, Long Chen cautioned. Your bodies are too weak to handle more energy. Eating too much will only make you feel like you're going to explode. All of the hidden dragon warriors, including Tang Wan'er, were flushed with excitement, eager to improve their bodies. They sat down to focus on digesting the energy. Since there were so many skewers left, Long Chen took some and went to sit with Yi Lingkong. When he took out 2 jugs of wine and opened them, Yi Lingkong was shocked again. This wine, is this from the wine god palace? Asked Yi Lingkong. Long Chen raised an eyebrow and said, Yes. Is there a wine god palace here in the heaven essence world? Yi Lingkong was a native expert. According to reason, he should have never left the heaven essence world in his lifetime. For him to recognize the wine god palace's wine instantly drew Long Chen's attention. Yi Lingkong nodded and answered, Yes, though it's very secretive. Their disciples appear occasionally, and no one knows where their palace actually is. Long Chen sighed in mild disappointment but continued to drink with Yi Lingkong. After a while, perhaps because he had drunk a bit too much, Yi Lingkong sighed. Brother, would you be interested in taking my seat? Long Chen was baffled, not understanding what he meant. To tell the truth, I'm not suited to be the left emissary of the wind god. I'm under a great deal of pressure. It was only because I had no other choice that I thickened my face and accepted this position. But it's really not for me, explained Yi Lingkong. Isn't there a right emissary as well? Long Chen asked. Yi Lingkong chuckled. Her? She's even less suited. We've barely spoken a handful of times in all the years I've known her. Looking at Long Chen, he added, You're wise beyond your years. A dean of the High Firmament Academy, no less. I'm not asking you to leave the academy. I just want you to stand in for me for a while. Even a few years would be a relief. I need a damn break. You said that you're not good with words, so what is your specialty? Asked Long Chen. Yi Lingkong grinned. Fighting, I suppose. Long Chen's eyes lit up. Perfect. Let's split the work. You handle the fighting, and I'll take care of leading and any social interactions. Deal. Yi Lingkong agreed with a laugh, and the two instantly hit it off. After resting for a day, Tang Wan'er and the others were back to normal. Their essence, qi, and spirits had all strengthened, with their blood qi noticeably stronger. As time went on, this improvement would become more pronounced. Even before entering the Wind Domain battlefield, they had gained a great advantage. Let's go. Brother San will lead you to dominate the Wind Domain battlefield. Long Chen shouted heroically. The Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow let out a loud cry and took flight, carrying everyone toward their next challenge. The Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow carried everyone through the skies. This time, it was Long Chen seated atop its head, while Yi Lingkong snored behind the hidden dragon legion. Suddenly, a bronze war chariot appeared off to their left rear, moving at a speed that surpassed even the Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow. Despite the sparrow's divine status, its speed was average among divine beasts, as its true strength lay in its raw, violent combat abilities. Due to its large and somewhat cumbersome frame, its speed was limited. The chariot quickly approached and then abruptly slowed down right in front of them, clearly attempting to provoke them. Show them who's the boss, shouted Long Chen. The Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow cried out excitedly, opened its mouth, and shot out a black sword. Following that, Long Chen heard startled cries from within the war chariot. Divine light swelled out of it, forming a barrier. Boom! The black sword exploded, transforming into millions of black runes. It was one of the Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow's divine abilities. The power of this attack sent the bronze chariot tumbling forward and shattered its protective divine light. Well done, Long Chen said, patting the sparrow's head approvingly. The Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow let out another enthusiastic cry, flapping its wings to continue onward. On the other hand, the bronze chariot was spinning through the air out of control, with its occupants likely dazed and dizzy. Wind God Sea Pavilion. A furious roar rang out as the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow flew by. "Oh, so you know we're from the Wind God Sea Pavilion and still dared to provoke us? Mess with us again, and we'll crack that bronze shell of yours and kick your asses," Long Chun shouted back arrogantly. Long Chun was brimming with confidence. He had an agreement with Yi Lingkong that any skirmishes with other disciples were his to handle, leaving senior bastards to Yi Lingkong. Yi Lingkong disliked niceties and trouble. Seeing Long Chun had such strong leadership capabilities, he simply left everything to Long Chun, letting him do whatever he wanted. All Yi Lingkong wanted was a break. If a senior were to try to bully them, Yi Lingkong would naturally take action. In any case, these sects rarely fought for real. Mostly, they would just attack each other verbally, which was really not Yi Lingkong's style. Luckily, Long Chun could back him up with his fiery tongue. With each passing moment, Long Chun was getting stronger. His strength continued to improve thanks to the radiant world star crystal, and his primal chaos space was teeming with vibrant life energy from the devoured corpses. As a result, both Lei Linger and Huolinger were thriving because of it. Huolinger in particular had gained a great deal. Her Golden Crow army was growing day by day, and all of their power was under her command. Additionally, 3 half-step Devil Emperor corpses were beginning to stir within Long Chun's spiritual space. With these powerful allies, Long Chun felt ready to face any challenge. His previous defeat by the Silver Hair Void Crusher had been a tough blow, but now, with his strength and confidence restored, the unmistakable swagger of Boss Long San had returned. As the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow flew off, the bronze chariot suddenly pursued it, divine light flaring atop it. Its occupants clearly had no intention of backing down. "Since they're so eager, let's give them what they want," Long Chun sneered. Long Chun had previously asked Yi Lingkong about it. Anyone else entering the Wind Domain battlefield was essentially the Wind God Sea Pavilion's enemy. The Wind God Sea Pavilion had intentionally acted weak to its enemies, resulting in countless greedy factions wanting to take over the Wind Domain battlefield. They even joined forces to squeeze out the Wind God Sea Pavilion's disciples. In the last few openings, the Wind God Sea Pavilion's disciples had become their targets. They used these poor disciples to get to the Wind Domain battlefield and then immediately killed them once they were inside. After Long Chun heard about that, his heart was at ease. He could just kill them all and didn't need to fear slaying the innocent. He just so happened to like this kind of vengeance. The Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow's wings suddenly retracted as powerful blood chi surged around it like a tidal wave. It opened its mouth, revealing a black vortex that shot toward the chariot. Seeing this, the chariot frantically reversed direction and barely dodged the black vortex. A mix of panic and anger erupted from inside. "Wind God Sea Pavilion, have you gone crazy?" They clearly hadn't anticipated the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow to unleash its most fearsome killing move. Had they been any slower, the bronze chariot would have been crushed to smithereens by the vortex. Having just escaped death, they were shocked, enraged, and afraid. "Old fogey, shut your mouth. The Wind God Sea Pavilion is now under Boss Long San's command. Keep yapping and I'll crush your dog head," shouted Long Chun arrogantly from atop the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow. "Just you wait," came the furious reply as the chariot vanished from sight. "Horn Swallower, no need to go easy on those assholes. I am not left emissary Yi. With me in command, you can do whatever you want," encouraged Long Chun. Long Chun had sensed the sparrow holding back. Otherwise, it would have waited for the bronze chariot to get closer to ensure they had no chance of escaping. Even if they had detonated the bronze chariot in time to escape the black vortex, it would have been futile. As long as the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow could hold back the elder inside, the Hidden Dragon Legion would have easily slaughtered the disciples. Unfortunately, the group managed to slip away, leaving Long Chun grumbling. The Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow let out a low cry, promising that it wouldn't let it happen again. Clearly, it had grown a bit too restrained under Yi Lingkong's watch. Spreading its wings, the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow took off once more. Soon, another group of experts appeared and attempted to provoke them. At Long Chen's furious command, The Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow immediately released its killing intent, sending the group scattering like frightened rabbits, disappearing in an instant. Unfortunately, the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow was too slow and couldn't catch up. Otherwise, by the time they got to the wind domain battlefield, half of their enemies would already be dead. For 3 days and nights, they flew onward as the air grew thick with a murderous aura, and the wind element energy became increasingly intense. Long Chun could even catch the scent of death in the wind. He gazed into the distance, where a desolate expanse lay before them. Countless figures were blocking their path, their auras brimming with fury. Upon seeing them, Long Chun grinned darkly. Sisters of the Hidden Dragon Legion, prepare for battle. Long Chun instantly recognized the full-moon gold-horn rhinoceros at the front, along with the bronze chariot they had encountered on the way. Joining them were several other factions that had attempted to provoke him, only to flee in terror from the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow. In total, 6 factions had gathered to block their path. Since they had traveled faster, they arrived first. Most likely, they were unwilling to accept the loss and were waiting here as a show of might to the Wind God Sea Pavilion. Horn Swallower, charge right at them. If they dare to get in your way, kill them, Long Chun commanded, waving his hand. Evil Moon was already resting on Long Chen's shoulder, surrounded by faint starlight. Thanks to the Radiant World Star Crystal, Long Chun could now activate his Starry Sea agilely. With his ability to fill his body with astral energy whenever he desired, he could unleash his full power in an instant. This ability made his sneak attacks extra deadly. He could kill people before they could even think of defending. Long Chun almost grumbled about not having any opponent to test his new ability on when so many experts appeared in his way, setting his blood ablaze. Right now, he was under no pressure. He felt invincible with Yi Lingkong's support and knew any powerful seniors among the foes would be taken care of, leaving him free to fight their juniors. Horn Swallower spread its wings, a 7-colored divine light swirling around its tail. Its blood chi ignited, raising its aura wildly. Across from it, the full-moon gold-horn rhinoceros let out an enraged roar, clearly ready for revenge. 2 entered a berserk state. Long Chun gripped Evil Moon, his starry sea swirling within him. The next moment, specks of starlight flowed into Evil Moon. At this moment, Tang Wanner held her sword, and all the hidden dragon warriors summoned their manifestations, their wind energy rising. After experiencing the baptism of blood and fire, they didn't cower under the pressure of so many experts. Instead, there was a burning fighting spirit in their eyes. Horn Swallower accelerated, its aura growing fiercer. After all, the heaven-swallowing bloodline was known for their ferocity. However, after it became Yi Lingkong's contractual divine beast, the two influenced each other, resulting in its character no longer being so violent. However, just 2 days with Long Chen had reawakened its violet blood, igniting its fierce desire for a bloody rampage. Instead of revealing your power here, why not try something more productive? The Earth Cauldron's voice rang out just as Long Chen was about to test his skills against these powerful experts to gauge his recent improvements. Something more productive? Long Chen echoed, puzzled. To him, a fight with half-step Divine Emperor experts was the perfect test of his strength. In any case, a half-step Divine Emperor like Liao Qingyu wasn't really a fighter. She was much weaker than a true half-step Divine Emperor, let alone an existence like the Silver Hair Void Crusher. Long Chen felt confident he could face her. If he could match her in combat, it would prove that he was one step closer to the Silver Hair Void Crusher's level. However, the Earth Cauldron felt like this kind of test was not worth it. The likes of Liao Qingyu rely entirely on the pressure of their realm to crush people. Since you're immune to Emperor pressure, defeating her won't actually prove anything, the Earth Cauldron replied. Long Chen considered this and realized the Earth Cauldron must have accurately assessed his strength, deciding he could handle Liao Qingyu. If the Earth Cauldron was so confident, he saw no reason to doubt it. Then, Senior, what do you have in mind? Asked Long Chen. Last time, when you gathered the full-moon gold-horn rhinoceros's essence blood, I noticed that its bloodline power was extremely pure. The full moon race's sacred energy has always been valuable, even by ancient standards. I just remembered a pill formula from the primal chaos era that can refine an unimaginable pill, but it requires a specific ingredient from the full moon goldhorn rhinoceros, said the earth cauldron. What ingredient? Cough, it's pizzle and balls. What? Are you joking? Evil Moon burst out. You old cauldron, what are you up to? You want me, Dragonbone Evil Moon, to slice off a rhino's pizzle and balls? Are you kidding me? The earth cauldron snorted. Don't think I didn't notice how much essence blood you borrowed last time when you cut its flesh. If you're gonna steal benefits like that, you should at least put in some work. I earned that blood, didn't I? Raged Evil Moon. Long Chun couldn't help but smirk. No wonder the blood count had seemed off before. He had assumed the rhino had staunched the flow quickly, but it turned out Evil Moon had taken a little extra for itself. Then let me put it like this to you. The pizzle and balls are where its sacred energy is concentrated. The earth cauldron continued. Absorb them, and you'll get 100 times the energy of its essence blood. Do you want it or not? Are you not lying to me? Evil Moon asked, surprised by that. When it had absorbed a bit of the essence blood, it merely followed its instinct. But after tasting it, it realized that this essence blood contains sacred energy capable of rapidly loosening the seals in its body. It regretted not being able to absorb more. Now, hearing the chance to absorb 100 times that amount, Evil Moon was sorely tempted. The earth cauldron then said, You can take half the essence blood. Leave the other half to me. I haven't yet given Long Chun a proper gift, and this pill will be my formal gift for becoming his divine item. All right, it's a deal, shouted Evil Moon. Long Chun, however, was left bewildered. Had they decided this without him, the master? Just then, the full moon goldhorn rhinoceros's horn blazed with light as it charged at the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow. Two enormous bodies crashed into each other. The intense clash shook heaven and earth, sending devastating chi waves in every direction. Perhaps due to a previous injury or simply being weaker, the full moon goldhorn rhinoceros was overpowered, even as the Chelan horn heaven-swallowing sparrow split its focus to protect those on its back. As the full moon goldhorn rhinoceros was thrown back, its legacy-passing treasure was revealed to Long Chun. Pretty big, Long Chun shouted, grinning. Without missing a beat, starlight swirled around Long Chun as he raised his saber. The other side had sent its treasure right to his door. It would be a shame not to reciprocate. In one swift stroke, rain of blood descended as the massive rhino pizzle and rhino balls were severed from the full moon goldhorn rhinoceros, leaving it screaming in pain. Long Chen's attack was quick, accurate, and ruthless, executed in a single stroke. The full moon goldhorn rhinoceros screamed in agony as its giant pizzle and balls flew into the air. Without a second thought, Long Chun reached out and sent the detached parts into his primal chaos space, where they were promptly absorbed by the earth cauldron. The full moon goldhorn rhinoceros's aura plummeted as if its life force drained out, leaving it visibly weak. Only now did Long Chun realize just how vital that treasure had been to the beast. It was clearly no ordinary organ, given how severely its aura had dropped. When he inspected the cut, he saw that the wound was flat and smooth as glass. It wasn't even bleeding. Wow, you're brutal, Long Chun muttered, realizing that Evil Moon had absorbed the full moon goldhorn rhinoceros's essence blood as it severed the organ, causing the creature to wither. What are you talking about? I was just being considerate, making sure the old cauldron had plenty of essence blood. Evil Moon retorted smugly. Cut your nonsense. The essence blood you took isn't the part that I want. You can keep it, the earth cauldron replied, clarifying that it needed the essential energy within the essence blood rather than its quantity. At this moment, the full moon goldhorn rhinoceros went into a frenzy. Despite the loss, it ignited whatever little essence blood remained. Its aura surged, and it charged at Long Chun, its horn glowing fiercely. The space around Long Chun instantly solidified. The sharp horn pierced toward him like a bolt of golden lightning. The space around Long Chun solidified as the razor-sharp horn closed in like a bolt of golden lightning. He could feel the destructive force radiating from it. It was a lethal attack that could kill him instantly. Yet, Long Chun remained calm, sensing the overwhelming threat. Under this pressure, he noticed that the flame of his spirit root intensified and the eternal runes beneath it began to react, as if resonating with the feeling of impending death. Boom! A sheathed broadsword struck the golden horn, sending the full-moon gold-horn rhinoceros crashing through mountains. Yi Lingkong had arrived, but he hadn't released his aura, bloodline fluctuations, or even spiritual pressure. Just a single swing of his sheathed broadsword had sent the berserk beast flying. Although Long Chun knew that Yi Lingkong was shockingly powerful, he hadn't expected his power to have reached this level. Even at full power, the raging full-moon gold-horn rhinoceros had been knocked back with ease. It was clear that the two were not even close to being on the same level. Yi Lingkong, I'll definitely kill you, Liao Qingyu screamed, her face twisting with fury. She directly attacked Yi Lingkong with a sword. Her 5 elite allies followed, surrounding him with a barrage of attacks. However, Yi Lingkong simply blocked them with his sheathed broadsword, effortlessly deflecting their all-out attacks. Despite what Liao Qingyu said, she had long since expected this. They were under no delusions of being able to kill him. They just wanted to occupy him. With Yi Lingkong tied down by them, Liao Qingyu shouted at her disciples, "Kill them all! Kill!" The 6 factions' disciples charged out like a tidal wave toward the Hidden Dragon Legion. What a pity! A group of beautiful women are about to be sliced apart. One sneered. Can't we keep a few alive as bed warmers? Killing them is a destruction of natural treasures. Added another. Alive or dead, it's all the same to me. A third laughed, eyeing the warriors with lecherous grins. To them, the hidden dragon warriors were nothing more than easy prey. I'll take care of the man, announced a large figure from the divine march gate. The same man who had taunted Long Chun now strode toward him. As the divine march gate's top disciple, he exuded intense blood qi and was clearly a formidable body cultivator. Dark runes resembling writhing centipedes surfaced on the man's fists, distorting the air around him. His blood qi surged, and his aura was overwhelming. It was clear why this person was the divine march gate's #1 disciple. He truly possessed immense power. Looking expressionless, Long Chun simply raised his hand, and that was all. He simply let that man's fist hit his palm. At the moment of impact, stars flickered to life across Long Chun's palm, and his astral energy instantly condensed into a formidable barrier. The man felt as if he had punched solid iron. Sharp pain radiated from his fist, and he feared his bones were close to breaking. Radiant World Star Crystal. You really are my treasure, Long Chun thought with satisfaction. Long Chun had intentionally tested the transformation of his astral energy by the Radiant World Star Crystal, and even in passive defense, its power was terrifying. Long Chun was overjoyed. What about when he actually attacked with it? How strong would his astral energy be then? The large man was stunned by the outcome. Enraged, he reached out with his other hand, his fingers clawing toward Long Chun's neck. While he was quick, Long Chun was quicker. Before his hand could reach Long Chun's palm struck his face with a resounding slap, leaving a bright red handprint. Wow! I can control my astral energy this precisely now? Long Chun muttered to himself. Seeing the handprint on his opponent's face, Long Chun was pleasantly surprised. Before, a slap like that would have likely blown up the man's head or at least disfigured his face. But now, Long Chun could leave a clear handprint instead, which showed that his control over astral energy had reached an extremely high level. He could use it with exact precision. Die! When that man's head cleared up after being slapped, his fury exploded. A giant hatchet then appeared in his hands, and he swung it down toward Long Chun with full force. The giant hatchet came crashing down, its head as large as a table and charged with enough force to cleave mountains. This was a powerful human emperor divine weapon. Boom! The hatchet tore through the air, yet it couldn't penetrate the layer of stars covering Long Chun's hand. His hand was as steady as an immovable boulder. "Impossible!" the man shouted, unable to believe that Long Chun could block his full power attack barehanded. Crack. A cracking sound echoed as tiny fractures spread through the hatchet. In the end, the human emperor divine weapon couldn't withstand Long Chen's iron grip. But just as Long Chun wanted to crush it, multiple powerful auras surged from the distance. Long Chen's heart shook. These were the auras of half-step divine emperors, not heaven saints. Boom! Abandoning the thought of shattering the hatchet, Long Chun kicked his opponent away in a lightning-fast motion. As the man flew away, powerful auras continued to fill the area, drawing an even larger crowd. Without hesitation, Long Chun tossed the hatchet into his primal chaos space. Meanwhile, Tang Wan'er led the Hidden Dragon Legion in a ruthless charge. Blood and flesh exploded on all sides as the earth turned crimson. Each hidden dragon warrior fought with ferocity, striking only to kill. Because the Wind God Sea Pavilion was well known for being weak, their enemies had assumed the hidden dragon warriors were nothing more than a pack of house cats. But they were in for a brutal shock as the supposed cats savaged them like tigers. From the very first clash, the Hidden Dragon Legion tore through their enemies fiercely. The brutal onslaught left the enemies stunned, and as they watched their comrades fall, panic spread through their ranks. Unable to maintain formation, they turned and fled. Seeing their enemies' backs exposed toward them, the Hidden Dragon Legion showed no mercy. Their sword chi swept through the fleeing crowd, leaving nothing but devastation and death in its wake. "Stop!" A furious roar echoed as countless figures closed in, surrounding the battlefield. Long Chun glanced around, noting over 30 half-step divine emperors among the newcomers. Each of them represented a major faction, and they had brought tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of warriors to surround Long Chun and the others. The attackers around Yi Lingkong withdrew, and the hidden dragon warriors paused. Though the battle had lasted only a few blinks of an eye, tens of thousands of corpses already lay on the ground. In the initial confrontation, one of the faction's top disciples was cleaved in two by Tang Wan'er. He didn't even have a chance to reveal his true power before falling. At this moment, an enormous figure collapsed to the ground. The Divine Marchgate's protector divine beast, the full-moon gold horn rhinoceros. It had lost its precious pizzle and balls, and after igniting what little essence blood it had left, it could no longer endure and passed out. "Wind God Sea Pavilion, what are you trying to do? Do you think you can challenge all of us on your own?" shouted an elder. Long Chun eyed the elder and recognized his faction immediately. It truly was a case of old enemies always crossing paths. The elder wore robes bearing the insignia of Pill Valley. Although the robes differed from those worn in the outside world, they had a pill cauldron design with a prominent Brahma character, instantly signaling their allegiance. Behind this elder stood over 1 million disciples, though only a small portion of them wore robes of the Brahma Pill Valley. The rest were a motley mix of many factions, the Brahma Pill Valley's dogs. It was only thanks to currying favor with the Brahma Pill Valley that they could enter the Wind Domain battlefield. Long Chen's attention was drawn to a red-haired man who was also looking his way. The moment their eyes met, both felt a jolt. "This fellow is strong," thought Long Chun, surprised. Though the red-haired man was only a heaven saint, he gave Long Chun a distinctly dangerous feeling. The man's scarlet eyes and condensed aura made it hard to sense his power. Yet Long Chun could feel the vast faith energy emanating from him. Although Long Chun had killed one of Brahma's 8 sons, Lu Fan, this man's faith energy felt different, though Long Chun couldn't pinpoint how. Still, the pressure he exuded was immense, marking him as a formidable opponent. The red-haired man seemed equally stunned by Long Chen's aura, sensing the power in him. Long Chun noticed several other powerful auras as well, especially a muscular man with a white bone spear strapped to his back. The intensity of his presence was nearly on par with the red-haired man. The resonant dragon race? Long Chun narrowed his eyes, his gaze darkening with killing intent. Seeing dragon race members allied with Brahma Pill Valley filled him with anger. First, there was the nether dragon race, now the resonant dragon race. Just when did the noble dragon race become so cowardly? To actually submit to the Brahma Pill Valley, they were a disgrace to the dragon race. The muscular man glanced back at Long Chun with astonishment, sensing a pure, sacred dragon blood flowing in him. He could hardly believe its purity. The sovereign dragon race's bloodline? How could a human possess the blood of the sovereign dragons? Tell me, where did you get your dragon blood? He bellowed. At once, the elder from Brahma Pill Valley glared at him, and the muscular man realized he had spoken out of turn. Yi Lingkong, are you mute? Are you trying to challenge all of us? Shouted the elder, turning his frustration onto Yi Lingkong. Yi Lingkong, feeling baffled, gripped his sword tightly. Just because he was a nice person didn't mean that he wouldn't get angry. Seeing that, as someone who never shied away from trouble, Long Chun directly jumped onto the Qilin horn heaven-swallowing sparrow's head and declared, "That's right. This is a declaration of war to all of you. The Wind God Sea Pavilion hereby declares war. Today we will settle all old and new scores. Rivers of blood will flow, and we won't stop until death." His words instantly changed countless expressions. "Come on, if you're real men, stop yelling and show me what you've got." Long Chun taunted from atop the Qilin horn heaven-swallowing sparrow, his voice full of confidence. Long Chun had thought things through. If it came to an all-out battle, he'd have the Qilin horn heaven-swallowing sparrow retreat with the hidden dragon legion, leaving only himself, Yi Lingkong, and Tang Wan-er. In this battle, their enemies outnumbered them immensely, so Long Chun didn't want to take any chance. The hidden dragon legion had to leave first. While the hidden dragon legion was growing stronger, they weren't ready for a battle of this level yet. In any case, Yi Lingkong could handle the half-step divine emperors, while Long Chun and Tang Wan-er would deal with the disciples. One thing bothered Long Chun. Despite Yi Lingkong's strength, he was not vicious enough. He might not be willing to kill all his enemies, which wasn't a good thing for Long Chun and his companions. Two disciples, in particular, stood out as dangerous adversaries: the red-haired man from Brahma Pill Valley and the muscular expert from the resonant dragon race. Both radiated a menacing pressure. Sensing other powerful auras around, Long Chun was prepared to retreat if necessary. If the three of them didn't have to worry about the hidden dragon legion, they could fight without reservation. Even if they couldn't achieve total victory, they'd ensure their enemies paid dearly. There was no downside to this. Hence, Long Chun was confident to fight them all here. Due to his power growing immensely, he wanted to test his new abilities. Just what level had he reached? Long Chun's challenge darkened those experts' expressions. They hadn't expected the always cowardly Wind God Sea Pavilion to show such boldness. Where did this brat come from? Shut your mouth! The elder from Pill Valley shouted, thinking that Long Chun was just an ordinary disciple of the Wind God Sea Pavilion. And where did an old bastard like you come from, to ask Boss Long San to shut his mouth? Who do you think you are? Either accept my challenge or scram. Let's soak this land in blood. Long Chun shot back without flinching. You! The elder then turned to Yi Lingkong, sneering, Yi Lingkong, what are you thinking? Yi Lingkong replied calmly. His attitude reflects the Wind God Sea Pavilion's stance. Whatever you want to say it to him. I take orders from him now. Yi Lingkong had decided to embrace his freedom. Before going, Feng Xinhue had mentioned to him that if he was tired of carrying this burden, he could always hand it over. At first, Yi Lingkong didn't fully understand what Feng Xinhue meant. But on the journey here, Long Chen's bold actions, confidence, and unique style left a strong impression on him, allowing him to finally grasp Feng Xinhue's words. So he let Long Chen carry this burden. To his surprise, Long Chen seemed entirely unfazed, carrying the weight effortlessly and continuing to act in his own way. This wasn't carelessness or impulsiveness but a display of immense confidence, which allowed Long Chen to treat the burden as if it were nothing. With this realization, Yi Lingkong felt he no longer had to worry about anything. He could trust Long Chen to make the decisions. If Long Chen wanted to fight, he'd fight. Your Wind God Sea Pavilion has guts. Do you really intend to challenge the Brahma Pill Valley and the countless factions of the Heaven Essence world on your own? roared the elder. That's right, we have the guts for it. So what's the problem? You don't like it? Then come, let's fight. Why stress yourselves out when we could just peacefully sit down and hack away at each other? Long Chen shrugged. What? Peacefully sit down and hack at each other? Everyone was dumbfounded. After all, it was the first time they had heard this combo of words. In any case, it only further enraged the elder from Pill Valley. Noticing Yi Lingkong's silence and how he let Long Chen take the lead, the elder and the others realized Long Chen was not an ordinary disciple. An all-out battle, however, wasn't an option for them. As administrators within their factions, they were responsible for passing down legacies, communicating, and negotiating rather than fighting. Yi Lingkong, however, was a warrior through and through. Even with their numbers, they might not be enough to stop him if he decided to strike. Most importantly, if they were to slaughter the Wind God Sea Pavilion's disciples here, Yi Lingkong might slaughter all their disciples in revenge, and no one would be able to stop him. A battle now would mean trading their disciples for the pavilions. That was a loss they were unwilling to pay. The elder from Pill Valley coldly looked at Long Chen. Then what do you want? Does your Wind God Sea Pavilion intend to monopolize the Wind Domain battlefield? Have you thought about the consequences? Offending everyone here won't end well. Damn! How amazingly shameless! How could you say such a thing with a straight face? Scoffed Long Chen. Since the beginning, the Wind Domain battlefield has always belonged to the Wind God Sea Pavilion. You all forced your way in for a share, and now that you've had a taste, you want to push us out. I guess a dog starts to think it owns the house once it gets comfortable. What a joke. I declare that the Wind Domain battlefield belongs to the pavilion alone. If you want entry, first get approval from the Wind God Sea Pavilion. Otherwise, well, you'll be treated the same way you treated us. After saying that, Long Chen turned to the disciples and shouted, Don't say Boss Long San didn't give you a warning. The Wind Domain battlefield is the territory of the Wind God Sea Pavilion. Barge in and you'll be provoking our authority. Anyone who dares to step on our dignity will bear the consequences. Haha. Better be careful you don't bite your tongue saying such big words. A declining god inheritance dares to spout such arrogance? What dignity or authority does the Wind God Sea Pavilion even have? Don't make us die of laughter. Just pray you don't run into me, Yi Linfeng, in the Wind Domain battlefield, or I'll make you beg for death, sneered the red-haired man. With a savage smile, the resonant dragon expert added, I'll pray to run into you, just so I can torture you until you spit out where that dragon blood of yours came from. No, let me be the one to find you. I'll grant you a quick death. I'm a very compassionate guy, not nearly as cruel as they are, said a man cloaked in black chi, clearly from the devil race. If you run into me and get on your knees to beg, I might consider sparing your life. Ha ha ha. Countless sneers echoed in response to Long Chen's warning, but he only smiled. He'd expected this response. It was all just formalities, after all. This way, he could kill them without hesitation. Long Chen then looked at the elder from Pill Valley. Old fellow, tell me, do you know someone called the Silver Hair Void Crusher? The moment Long Chen mentioned that name, the elder's expression faltered, his eyes widening in disbelief as he stared at Long Chen. Seeing the elder's reaction, Long Chen was momentarily startled. He had been testing this old head but hadn't truly expected him to really know the Silver Hair Void Crusher. This meant that the Silver Hair Void Crusher was also in the Heaven Essence world. According to the Earth Cauldron, he had been injured heavily by the white-robed Long Chen and should be in the midst of recovery. Having lost his star-peering heavenly mirror, he could only ask the Brahma Pill Valley's people to search for him. However, Long Chen found it curious that this person knew of the Silver Hair Void Crusher but didn't recognize the great Long Chen. Who are you? Shouted the elder. I am Long Chen, but my friends like to call me Boss Long San, replied Long Chen with a slight smile. His eyes locked onto the elder. When the elder heard that, his pupils shrank. From his expression, Long Chen realized that this elder recognized his name but not his appearance. Most likely, the Silver Hair Void Crusher was too embarrassed after being so severely wounded to reveal the full story, so he only mentioned that he was looking for someone named Long Chen. This also implied that his injuries were worse than expected, so he wasn't in a hurry to locate Long Chun and had merely provided a name. Given the Void Crusher's status, the elders didn't dare to take his request lightly. Thus, every one of their core experts had firmly etched Long Chen's name into their minds. Since the Void Crusher didn't elaborate further, they didn't dare to ask questions, but they assumed that whoever Long Chun was, he must be a significant figure, at the very least a half-step divine emperor. Hence, it was a shock when they discovered that Long Chun was only an earth saint. If he hadn't been the one to mention the silver-hair Void Crusher's name first, the elder would never have believed that this was the person the silver-hair Void Crusher sought. Though the elder said nothing, Long Chun already had his answer. Even Yi Linfeng looked startled. He hadn't heard of the silver-hair Void Crusher before, so he became even more curious about Long Chen's background. Suppressing his shock at Long Chen's identity, the elder coldly asked, "What are you trying to do? Do you want to fight us today?" "That's right, I want to fight. If we don't fight now, we'll fight once we're inside. But dying early means you'll get to reincarnate early. Isn't that a good thing?" replied Long Chen. "You..." The elder's face darkened with rage. "That's right. Die early, reincarnate early. I'll send you on the path of reincarnation right now," Yi Linfeng said, stepping forward. At the same time, the other experts clenched their weapons, having had enough of Long Chen's arrogance. "Hold it!" the elder ordered, halting them. Privately, he transmitted to Yi Linfeng, "He cannot be killed. Capture him alive." After that, the elder coldly said, "The Wind Domain battlefield doesn't solely belong to the Wind God Sea Pavilion. Many experts of our race died here, and countless factions have joined the fight over time. The Wind Domain battlefield belongs to all the indigenous people of Heaven Essence World." Long Chun retorted, "Give it up. Is what you say really what counts? The battle in the Wind Domain battlefield took place long before your ancestors were even born. Do you think you can declare it public property? You think your words hold more weight than the Wind God Sea Pavilion's historical records? How can you make up such nonsense so shamelessly?" As the elder tried to argue further, Long Chun cut him off. "Shut your mouth. I'll take a page from your book and say that the Brahma Pill Valley is now mine. I already marked Lord Brahma's divine statue with my piss. So, does that mean I get a share in Brahma Pill Valley's profits too? Outrageous! How dare you blaspheme the god?" The Brahma Pill Valley disciples erupted in fury, their teeth gnashing. "TCH, just like dogs, you only know how to bare your teeth. If you have the guts, come at me," Long Chun replied disdainfully. Long Chen's patience was running thin. He could tell from the elders' eyes that they had no intention of fighting. More like they didn't dare to fight against Yi Linfeng. Everything was just empty bravado. Yi Linfeng alone would have a hard time dealing with their schemes. But with Long Chen leading, he saw through their little tricks immediately. They didn't want to start a fight here because they feared that if the Hidden Dragon Legion were annihilated, Yi Linfeng would slaughter their disciples. If all their disciples died here, how would they explain themselves to the higher-ups? "A good dog doesn't block the way. Move," Long Chen sneered. Seeing the elder's furious but calculating gaze, Long Chun knew he was scheming something. Unwilling to waste more time, Long Chun urged the Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow forward. The Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow let out a powerful cry and, as if fueled by Long Chen's fearless command, it charged straight ahead, ignoring the presence of the half-step divine emperors. Unable to withstand the pressure, the elder gnashed his teeth and reluctantly ordered everyone to stand aside. As Long Chun had expected, they didn't dare to fight here. The potential loss was something they couldn't bear. With another triumphant cry, the Qilin Horn Heaven-swallowing sparrow surged past them, flaunting its strength and mocking them without restraint. Just like that, Long Chun and his companions flew through, leaving the idiots in the dust. "How could you just let them go?" Yi Linfeng asked, his fists clenched hard. "It's fine. Once you're in the Wind Domain battlefield, you can do whatever you want to them. But remember this, you cannot kill Long Chun. You must capture him alive," said the elder from the Brahma Pill Valley. In truth, he felt like he was going to explode out of anger, but the silver hair Void Crusher's orders were absolute. "I'll leave him half alive," Yi Lin Feng replied savagely. "That's up to you," the elder replied, taking out a jade plate and placing a drop of blood on it, activating a communication tablet. He sent word of Long Chen's presence to his allies. "Let's go. We won't let them get too far ahead," said the elder. With the elder's approval, Yi Lin Feng led the experts from Brahma Pill Valley in pursuit, setting their sights on Long Chen's trail. What cowards! They had so many people but didn't dare to actually attack. Xiao Yu huffed, clearly impatient. She hadn't expected the enemy to still hold back after all this. Although Xiao Yu appeared gentle and calm, she had a fierce, spirited side, which was now bubbling to the surface. "I didn't expect it either. They're nothing but paper tigers, all show and no bite," Yi Lingkong agreed, shaking his head. He'd known they were good at bullying the weak, but he hadn't expected them to be so spineless. In terms of eloquence, Yi Lingkong was too lacking to deal with them, so he usually had to walk away with a belly full of fire despite being stronger. But today, Long Chen showed him a different approach, to focus on his strengths and stick to his own rhythm. Just thinking about how he always ended up on the losing side in their verbal confrontations, he felt quite sullen. "These wily old foxes have small guts and too many misgivings," Long Chen remarked. "Without absolute certainty, they won't make a move. I taunted them earlier, but they didn't respond. Even if I slapped them in the face, they'd hold back. But don't think that means they're scared of us, they're just waiting for the right time. Once we enter the wind domain battlefield, that's when the real battle will start." Long Chen then looked over at the hidden dragon warriors and sternly said, "Sisters, this is our first battle outside of the Wind God Sea Pavilion, and it is also a battle to reclaim the pavilion's dignity. In the past, our disciples were hunted down mercilessly on the Wind domain battlefield, dishonored, and left buried there. You saw their cruelty yourselves just now. I warned them, but my warning was met with merciless mocking. They are now our enemies, so let me warn you one more time. On the battlefield, do not hesitate to draw your blade, and do not show mercy. Don't think that just because they've put down their butcher's blade for now, that they will turn over a new leaf. They're not sparing us out of kindness or enlightenment. They're holding back only because of fear, just like in the last ranking battle. When they begged for mercy, you let them go, only for them to mock you the moment they felt safe. Remember this place is not the Wind God Sea Pavilion. They are all enemies, bloodthirsty fiends. They are not like the divine sons and daughters who were raised in greenhouses. To show mercy to them is to throw away your lives and the lives of your companions. Big brother Long Chen, don't worry. This time we won't hold back. Mercy to enemies is harm to ourselves. We've learned the lesson, and we won't make the same mistake again," declared one of the divine retainers, her voice fierce. This divine retainer was very talented and powerful, but her character was too soft. However, she had hardened through the brutal lessons of past battles and transformed completely. Long Chen nodded. "Remember our motto. Do not draw your sword lightly, but once you draw it, it doesn't stop until it drinks blood." The Hidden Dragon Legion shouted in unison, their killing intent flaring as they echoed the battle cry. This was a concept that Long Chen had hammered into them. After all, men and women were different. The latter often found it hard to suppress their empathy on the battlefield. This was why in the mortal world's battlefields, there would only be men killing each other because they could suppress other thoughts and focus only on killing their enemies. What Long Chen wanted them to know was that they could be kind and gentle at other times, but once they drew their swords, they had to be goddesses of death, focused on eradicating the enemies before them. This was a kind of brainwashing, but Long Chen preferred to do this rather than seeing them learn their lessons by sacrificing their comrades one after another. Learning through that kind of pain was torture. Back then, the Dragonblood Legion had suffered immense pain to comprehend this point. He didn't want these ladies to pay such sacrifices. Seeing that Long Chen could trigger the Hidden Dragon Legion's killing intent with just a few words, Yi Lingkong was impressed. These young warriors were emitting an unprecedented sharpness. Just as everyone was speeding forward, they sensed spatial fluctuations coming from ahead, like an invisible wall blocking the Qilin horn heaven, swallowing Sparrow's path. Hence, it had no choice but to stop. Long Chun, be careful. Yilin Feng is a peak expert of the martial god hall, a monster sealed in the ancient era. His strength might surpass those half-step divine emperors, warned Yi Lingkong. The martial god hall? Long Chun was surprised. The Brahma line seemed to have 4 halls: the 9 Underworld Hall, the Bloodkill Hall, the Sacred Pill Hall, and the Martial God Hall. Long Chun had interacted with the 9 Underworld Hall, the Bloodkill Hall, and the Sacred Pill Hall. He'd clashed with the 9 Underworld Hall and Bloodkill Hall, even killing Enputa and Liao Bensong from those factions. Both had been memorable opponents, especially Enputa, who had been a massive pain in Long Chun's butt. Long Chun had also interacted with Sacred Pill Hall, albeit rare. All he knew was that they specialized in refining pills and weren't a threat to him. But the Martial God Hall, this was the first time he'd encountered one of its members. Since Yi Linfeng originated from it, he couldn't be simple. The expert from the Resonant Dragon race is also very powerful. His race's power has risen immensely thanks to the aid of the Brahma Pill Valley. Yi Lingkong continued. Some of the devil and demon race experts sealed since the ancient era are also powerful beyond measure. If the battle turns against you, retreat. As long as you stay alive, there is always a chance of turning things around. Yi Lingkong wasn't too worried about Long Chun and Tang Wan'er. If they couldn't win in battle, they could always escape. His concern lay with the Hidden Dragon Legion. He feared that Long Chun and Tang Wan'er might hesitate to retreat if it meant abandoning the Legion. In that scenario, they could all be caught. Smiling, Long Chun replied, "Don't worry. I've got it under control. Even if there were more enemies, I could handle them. Just wait for the good news. Or, if you're feeling bold, you could go ahead and take care of those old geezers. I think that'd be a great way to start the festivities." You? Yi Lingkong stared, shocked by Long Chun's audacity. Long Chun didn't wait for a response and flew in with everyone else. Their figures were devoured by the twisting space in front of them. Moments later, countless other experts appeared in hot pursuit, catching only a glimpse of Long Chun and his allies as they vanished. Determined, they surged forward, intent on following them. "Just wait to gather their corpses," sneered Liao Qingyu, laughing darkly. "No, they won't even leave behind corpses. They'll be turned to dust." As the disciples entered the Wind Domain battlefield, the elders stayed behind, their eyes fixed menacingly on Yi Lingkong. He shook his head, muttering under his breath, "If I were you, I'd be praying that your disciples don't catch up to Long Chun." Watching the space where Long Chun had disappeared, Yi Lingkong sighed. That man is not just a peak expert. He's a supreme commander. As Long Chun and the others passed through the barrier, a desolate and harsh aura struck them. Tang Wan'er and the Hidden Dragon Warrior's auras fluctuated intensely as wind energy gathered around them. This wind energy was livelier than the one in the Wind God Sea Pavilion. Xiao Yu and the others gasped in surprise as they sensed their own wind energy merging with this atmosphere, feeling as though they had become the masters of this space. Now they understood why the Wind Domain battlefield was so important to the Wind God Sea Pavilion. This place bore the protective will of the Wind God's lineage, a legacy and sanctuary for their kind. This place was their home. Long Chun raised his hand and snapped his fingers, a signal that instantly focused everyone. They directly grabbed their swords and raised their aura. In the shortest time possible, the wind energy in them circulated as they entered their peak conditions. Thanks to the blessing of the Wind Domain battlefield, their wind energy had reached an unprecedented level, so a desire to fight rose within them. Without even summoning their manifestations, the intense aura around them could already send chills through any onlooker. Kill! At that moment, a cacophony of roars and insults broke out from the group of idiots. As if afraid that the Hidden Dragon Legion wouldn't notice their arrival, they brayed louder than donkeys. On the other hand, the Hidden Dragon Legion was silent. With their weapons in their hands, they bent over ever so slightly, their veins slowly swelling. They concentrated their power into their swords. "Strip them off their clothes!" An obscene cry rang out from the enemy side. When they passed by the barrier, they saw a group of women eyeing them like leopards lying in wait. They instantly had a bad feeling. In a split second, over 7,000 blades sprang from their sheaths, producing a majestic, chilling sound. A call to death. Waves of sword chi layered atop one another, crashing down upon the intruders. Many were torn apart before they could even comprehend what had hit them. The hidden dragon warriors unleashed sword chi with relentless precision, each delivering multiple slashes in the blink of an eye. The resulting waves of energy formed a deadly net, entrapping the intruders. Let alone in their defenseless state, even if these intruders were in their strongest defensive state, they wouldn't be able to survive these highly concentrated assaults. These idiots were too careless, thinking that the hidden dragon legion would immediately flee upon entering the wind domain battlefield. As a result, they had walked directly into a killing formation. As sword chi rained upon them, the first wave of enemies fell instantly. The second wave, realizing the danger too late, tried to retreat, but the people behind them didn't know what was happening and continued to charge forward. They didn't want to be so slow that the hidden dragon legion escaped. As a result, amidst countless screams and cries, they were mowed down, forced into the whirlpool of death by the people behind them, ultimately turning into blood mist. In just a few breaths, hundreds of thousands of experts were slain, some of them being the top experts of some factions. Caught off guard, even they were unable to survive the fierce ambush. Chaos erupted as the surviving fighters tried to reorient themselves and spread out along the barrier's vast circumference, attempting to find other entry points. This aspect was also why these people had been in such a rush to chase after the hidden dragon legion, as they had been afraid to lose them. Though they had leaders guiding them, the intruders weren't a unified force, and most had never fought together before. In the chaos, some people couldn't even tell north from south and continued to charge into the barrier. As a result, they were mercilessly slain by the hidden dragon warriors. Over 7,000 hidden dragon warriors stood in formation and sent out arcs of sword chi that overlapped and filled every space, with each area covered by at least 10 layers of the combined attacks. Such disorganized mobs had no chance of breaking through this concentrated onslaught. Suddenly, a surge of explosive blood chi erupted within the barrier, accompanied by a resounding dragon cry. A white bone spear tore through the void, shattering the sword chi net. After that, a towering figure stormed into the barrier. It was the expert from the resonant dragon race. Divine light swirled over his dragon scales as he unleashed his blood chi to its fullest. Dragon runes glowed along his spear, which exuded an overwhelming dragon might and filled the air with a metallic, bloody scent. His charge pushed back dozens of hidden dragon warriors, disrupting the formation and forcing them to step back. Feeling the pressure lighten, the intruders charged through the barrier. Millions instantly poured through, overwhelming the hidden dragon legion's formation. Dragon return formation, Long Chen shouted, snapping Xiao Yu and the others out of their hesitation. Xiao Yu and the others still couldn't react fast enough. When they saw the tide of enemies, they still hesitated about which formation to use. Actually, with their experience and strength, it didn't matter which formation they used. Anyone would be correct. Sadly, their indecision cost them their initiative. Luckily, they quickly adapted, shifting to the dragon return formation and holding their ground as best they could. Despite the overwhelming numbers, they moved efficiently, parrying and countering the surrounding enemies. Long Chen, is it? I, Ing Tianhua, will deal with you? Bellowed the elite from the resonant dragon race, lunging forward with his spear. The spear image, gleaming with deadly intent, hurtled toward Long Chen like lightning. Boom! Long Chen blew apart the spear image with a palm strike, but his hand was left bloody. He stared at the spear in surprise. It had been merely a spear image, yet it had injured him. A dragon emperor's tooth? Long Chen exclaimed. This spear was a divine weapon refined from a dragon tooth, exuding the will and pressure of a dragon emperor. It was no wonder this attack was so terrifying. Impressive. You have some ability. Then have a taste of this next strike. Ing Tianhua taunted, his dragon aura surging as he swung the spear. darkness gathered above Long Chun, and in an instant, a massive dragon claw appeared, descending upon him with unstoppable force. Boom! The dragon claw struck before Long Chun could fully react, blasting him into the ground and leaving a massive hole. The sudden dragon claw attack tore through the ground, causing Xiaoyu and the others to cry out in shock. They rushed toward Long Chun, fearing he had been seriously injured. However, Tang Wanner stopped them, knowing that if Long Chun could be hurt so easily, he wouldn't be the Long Chun she knew. The immense dragon claw dug deeper into the earth, shaking the ground as the surrounding land rose. It seemed determined to crush Long Chun to pieces. I really miscalculated. The resonant dragon race may be a noble branch of the dragon race, but you actually resort to such shameless tricks. Long Chen's voice rang out from underground. What shocked everyone was the calmness in his voice. There was no trace of urgency or panic. Ying Tianhua's face darkened. That was just a warm-up. Since you're so eager to reincarnate, I'll help you on your way. Ying Tianhua roared, summoning his heavenly fate disc. The immemorial resonant dragon in his manifestation emanated powerful dragon might. In an instant, the enormous dragon claw stretching down from the heavens swelled, and its pressure multiplied. Surging chi waves crushed the surrounding space, forcing the hidden dragon legion to retreat. This is your limit? Not very impressive. Scarlet dragon battle armor. Long Chen shouted. A majestic dragon cry echoed through time, and a sacred dragon aura filled the air. Boom! As the enormous dragon claw shattered, Long Chun emerged. Crimson dragon scales surrounded his body, while a red cloak billowed behind him, his long hair whipping in the wind. Moreover, his eyes sparked with power, and dragon runes flickered within them. In this state, he looked like the reincarnation of the dragon sovereign, an awe-inspiring figure that none could gaze upon directly. The hidden dragon warriors had never seen Long Chun in this state before. As they witnessed this wildly domineering transformation for the first time, their blood surged with excitement. As a member of the noble dragon race, instead of focusing on strengthening your power, you choose to dabble in underhanded tricks. It seems the resonant dragon race has been thoroughly brainwashed by Brahma Pill Valley, Long Chun remarked coldly, his gaze scanning the battlefield. Strangely, Long Chun didn't see Yi Linfeng and the others. Unbeknownst to him, they were wondering the same about him. They had assumed Long Chun would flee the moment he entered the Wind Domain battlefield. Given the overwhelming disparity in numbers and power, they thought there was no way Long Chun would fight them directly. So, they split into multiple groups to cover a wider area, believing one group would eventually intercept him. Still, most idiots believed they could catch up if they moved quickly, so they trailed the hidden dragon legion's path. However, Yi Linfeng and the other smart ones chose to circle around, which explained why Long Chun didn't encounter them. Shut your mouth, you vile human. What qualifications do you have to judge the great resonant dragon race? Ying Tianhua roared, sweeping his spear in a wide arc, sending a blade of white energy slashing toward Long Chun. Long Chun raised his hand calmly. The dragon race is indeed great, he replied. But that greatness has nothing to do with the resonant dragon race. Boom! Blood-colored dragon runes swirled on top of Long Chen's palm, directly shattering the white bone blade upon contact. I have the sovereign dragon race's blood, so I am your emperor. Since you are nothing more than my subject, shouldn't you hurry up and kneel? Long Chun clasped his hands behind him, looking at Ying Tianhua coldly. Hearing this, Ying Tianhua almost exploded with fury. The sovereign dragon race has long since fallen. They can't even protect themselves. What right do they have to claim sovereignty? Their title was pure luck. Anyone with such fortune could have taken that position. My race has achieved power unseen since the immemorial era. We're more than ready to replace them. And you, little human, even if you were a true descendant of the sovereign dragon race, you still wouldn't fit to act so arrogantly before me. Ying Tianhua lunged forward, his spear piercing the air with a fierce dragon cry. Power! Long Chun smirked, dodging the thrust. Is that power your own? Or did you beg for scraps? Without Brahma Pill Valley's help, would you even have the strength? The resonant dragon race has fully declined. You are not part of the dragon race any longer. You guys are simply dogs. A group of spineless dogs. Boom! Long Chun unleashed a punch and struck Ng Tianhua's spear directly. The collision forced him back several steps, causing blood to trickle from his fist. Although Long Chun was injured, he didn't seem to mind. After all, the spear was forged from a dragon emperor's fang, so it was a demon emperor weapon, an existence beyond human emperor divine weapon. You're holding back, Long Chun observed, glancing at the blood on his hand with a mocking smile. Afraid to kill me? Worried about explaining yourself to the silver hair void crusher? Ng Tianhua's face twisted. If I didn't have to spare you, you'd already be dead. But even if I can't kill you, I can still gouge out your eyes and shut that insolent mouth. The next moment, Ng Tianhua's left hand moved in rapid seals, and the resonant dragon in his manifestation started to tremble, breaking free of the heavenly fate disk's boundaries until it filled the sky. Dragon Domain! Roared Ng Tianhua. A blinding radiance filled the air as an enormous domain enclosed Long Chun, trapping him within its oppressive field. The restrictive force around him grew, and he felt his dragon blood slipping away, slowly being drawn out of his veins. This domain was extracting his dragon blood. This isn't a dragon domain, Long Chun muttered, shaking his head. This is a mutt's domain. The true dragon race would never stoop to dog-like tricks. In truth, Ng Tianhua's dragon domain was extremely powerful. It was a secret art of the resonant dragon race, and it was even effective against the sovereign dragon race. It was something that Ng Tianhua had planned to use against the experts of the sovereign dragon race. Inside this domain, any dragon's power would be absorbed if they dared to use their dragon blood. This special divine ability was the bane of most dragon experts. You're stuck now, aren't you? Let me see how long you can shoot your mouth off, sneered Ng Tianhua, his cold smile widening. Within his dragon domain, he was like a fish in water. With a single step, he appeared in front of Long Chun. However, before he could do anything else, Long Chun's hand swung through the air in a beautiful arc, ruthlessly smacking him in the face. Long Chun moved with lightning speed. The moment Ng Tianhua appeared before him, Long Chun struck, slapping the dog-like dragon across the face. Ng Tianhua had absolute confidence in his dragon domain. After all, it was the resonant dragon race's supreme divine ability. Against other races, the dragon domain could suppress their bloodlines, paralyzing them. When used against dragon-blooded beings, the domain's unique force would extract their bloodline power. So, the more they struggled, the faster their bloodline power drained until it was depleted. This supreme divine ability was even a challenge for the heavenly geniuses of the sovereign dragon race. Ng Tianhua believed that Long Chun was merely human. Even if he possessed pure dragon blood, how much of its power could he actually wield? Confident in his power, Ng Tianhua assumed the battle was over the moment he summoned his dragon domain. What he hadn't anticipated, though, was that Long Chun's dragon blood didn't stem from the sovereign dragon race, but from the legendary primal chaos dragon sovereign. Although the dragon domain had some effect, it was negligible. At this rate, even if Ng Tianhua were given a year, he still wouldn't be able to extract all of Long Chun's dragon blood. I told you, this isn't a dragon domain, Long Chun taunted after sending Ng Tianhua flying with a slap. The resonant dragon race are nothing more than spineless dogs now. This technique might impress others, but it's worthless against me. Long Chun then glanced at the hidden dragon legion. Under increasing pressure, their combat abilities continued to sharpen. No matter how furiously their enemies assaulted them, they sliced through. No one could stop their swords. In fact, there was no need for Tang Wan'er to join in. Seeing that, Long Chun relaxed. The hidden dragon legion's rate of improvement was even greater than he had expected. As long as they didn't run into any peak experts, their safety was not something he needed to concern himself with. After all, the Hidden Dragon Legion had access to limitless medicinal pills, spirit crystals, and various resources. They also had the aid of a priceless divine treasure, 7 treasure-colored glass tree. There would be no justice in this world if they weren't getting stronger. Die! Ing Tianhua roared, furious that his dragon domain hadn't immediately overpowered Long Chun. He had expected the dragon domain to make quick work of Long Chun. What he truly wanted was Long Chen's dragon blood, and he aimed to claim it before Yi Linfeng and the others arrived. However, he underestimated Long Chun and got a slap instead. For the wildly arrogant Ing Tianhua, it was an unbearable humiliation. So he ignited his dragon blood. The resonant dragon reappeared in his manifestation, while flames ignited on his dragon spear. With newfound fury, he launched himself at Long Chun once more. This time, Ing Tianhua no longer held back. Even if Long Chun died because of this attack, he didn't care. If he didn't attack with all his power, he felt like he would explode. Cloud Dragon Immolation Claw. Long Chun responded, summoning a colossal dragon claw from his divine ring. Boom! Ing Tianhua's spear pierced the dragon claw, but the impact shook him to his core, and blood spattered from his mouth. Although his spear shattered Long Chen's technique, the resulting force shook his insides. Tisich, still weak even with a divine weapon, Long Chun sneered, swinging his leg through the air. Divine Dragon Tail Pendulum. An enormous dragon tail manifested, whipping through the air like a divine whip. Ing Tianhua had yet to recover from the previous attack when the dragon tail appeared in front of him, its pressure causing his hair to stand on end. Although Long Chen's dragon blood power hadn't changed recently, his growth and the effects of the radiant world star crystal had amplified his strength, and with it, the potency of his dragon abilities. It was multiple times greater than before. Seeing the tail approach, Ing Tianhua thrust his spear forward. The dragon spear was incalculably sharp and tore through the dragon tail. However, the tail didn't break apart after all that and struck Ing Tianhua. Boom! Ing Tianhua spat out more blood, along with broken bits of his insides. Though powerful, Ing Tianhua found himself at a disadvantage. Long Chen's dragon blood carried the primal chaos dragon sovereign's supreme will, suppressing him entirely. Ing Tianhua was truly unlucky. Someone who could look down on other heavenly geniuses in the same realm was pushed to this point in 2 attacks. Realizing he couldn't endure another direct clash, Ing Tianhua launched himself backward to create some distance between them. But before he could retreat fully, his dragon spear was yanked forward, and Long Chen's taunting voice echoed, "Let me take this off your hands." When Ing Tianhua came to a halt, miles away, his hands were empty. His dragon spear was gone. He looked forward and saw it in Long Chen's grasp, who toyed with it casually. "Young child, you shouldn't play with such dangerous toys. You could hurt yourself. I'll help you by taking it." Long Chun smirked before casually tossing the spear into his primal chaos space. Forged from a dragon emperor's fang, this spear was an incredibly sharp and powerful weapon, though not a true divine emperor artifact. The original master of the fang wasn't even from the resonant dragon race, which meant that Ing Tianhua lacked the ability to refine it properly. He could only unleash its most basic power. Despite this limitation, its raw power was still formidable. Long Chun had felt it sting twice already. If Ing Tianhua could master this bone spear, Long Chun would likely find himself running away by now. Originally, Long Chun had intended to toss the spear into the black soil. However, sensing its powerful will and the strength of its runes, he had a change of heart. Suddenly, he thought of Guyong. Perhaps the spear could unleash its true potential in his hands. "Return my divine spear! Return my divine spear!" Ing Tianhua exclaimed in a panic. This was a priceless treasure of the resonant dragon race. Although he had been given authority to wield it, it wasn't truly his. If he lost it, he would be punished harshly. Ing Tianhua merged with the resonant dragon figure behind him, expelling another mouthful of blood as his aura erupted like a volcano. Using a sacrificial technique, he boosted his power and lunged at Long Chun with a fierce punch. "That's right. Let's settle this with our fists. A fair fight it is." Long Chun responded, charging directly at the newly empowered Ing Tianhua. Boom! A dragon's roar echoed as Long Chun and Ing Tianhua collided, sending a violent shockwave through the land. With his white bone spear lost, Tianhua grew even more ferocious. Now, he no longer cared about Long Chen's survival. He only wanted his dragon spear back. Their fists clashed repeatedly, each strike resonating with the power of dragon blood, shaking the world with their destructive power. Going all out, Tianhua unleashed surges of qi that ignited flames in the sky. He was using his blood ignition art, burning his own essence blood to amplify his strength and unleash his full manifestation. The ground splintered and collapsed as their battle raged, with waves of death rippling in every direction. The Hidden Dragon Legion had no choice but to retreat, moving further and further back to avoid the deadly clash. Only now did the Hidden Dragon warriors fully grasp Long Chen's strength. Their so-called divine sons and daughters seemed insignificant in comparison. "Return my dragon spear," Tianhua roared, unleashing a torrent of divine abilities at Long Chen. Against Tianhua's furious barrage, Long Chen felt immense pressure. Although he possessed the Dragon Sovereign's essence blood, it was limited in quantity and power. On the other hand, Tianhua was a true dragon and could burn his essence blood to release even greater power. In terms of dragon blood power alone, Long Chen was at a disadvantage. Luckily, his combat experience, especially in close-range battles, far exceeded Tianhua's. Boom! Taking advantage of a brief distraction, Long Chen landed a punch on Tianhua's nose, sending blood spurting and causing him to see stars. Furious, Tianhua howled in pain. Finally, Long Chen got to test out the limits of his dragon blood power. Comparatively, his dragon blood power was like a steel wire, while Tianhua's was like a hemp rope. If both were of the same thickness, the steel wire would be countless times stronger. But if the hemp rope was as thick as a mountain, while the steel wire was as thin as a hair, then the steel would lose out. Long Chen, however, was testing his dragon blood intentionally, relying solely on his fists and two techniques: the Cloud Dragon Immolation Claw and Divine Dragon Tail Pendulum. Though simple, these two techniques could transform endlessly in his hands, enabling him to keep Tianhua suppressed. Tianhua felt certain he was stronger than Long Chen, yet he was unable to defeat him. His frustration burned as he gritted his teeth. He knew he couldn't maintain this state for long. Once he burned his dragon blood to a certain point, he would have to stop or his core would be too badly damaged. It might even limit his growth and damage his foundation. What infuriated Tianhua the most was that Long Chen no longer bothered to clash against him head-on. Being unable to beat Tianhua with just his dragon blood power, Long Chen decided to use the stalling approach. Once Tianhua stopped burning his essence blood, Long Chen would unleash a storm of attacks. At that moment, Tianhua would have no chance of victory. "If you're a man, fight me directly," roared Tianhua. Pow! His reply was a slap in the face. "You're a dog. Don't talk like a man," scolded Long Chen. "Ah!" Tianhua roared in fury, blood leaking from his mouth as he bit his lip in rage. His anger could no longer be described with simple words. Desperate, he continued to attack Long Chen crazily, but Long Chen refused to clash with him head-on. Long Chen dodged half of the attacks, blocked some, and countered just enough to keep Tianhua off balance. Every single one of Long Chen's attacks was precise and perfectly timed, breaking Tianhua's rhythm. Although Tianhua was powerful, he simply couldn't compare to Long Chen in terms of combat experience. The tempo of this battle was entirely under Long Chen's control. "Tianhua, you fool. Attack those women, and he'll have no choice but to confront you directly," called out a devil expert. Long Chen glanced over and saw a group of devil experts. They had gone around the barrier to pursue him and his companion, but they had circled back and arrived. "Scram! You're the fool. You're a fucking idiot," Tianhua roared in response, but in the next instant, he launched himself toward the Hidden Dragon Legion. Despite cursing at the devil expert, his actions showed that he acknowledged the suggestion. It was indeed a way to force Long Chen into a direct fight. As Tianhua charged toward the Hidden Dragon Legion, Long Chen took a single step, starlight swirling beneath his feet, and instantly appeared right behind the dog-like dragon expert. What? Both Ng Tianhua and the devil expert were stunned. Long Chen's step was eerily swift, as if he had teleported. Ng Tianhua had braced himself for Long Chen's attack, planning to counter it and use the resulting force to propel himself toward the hidden Dragon Legion. But to his horror, Long Chen's movement seemed to defy the bounds of spacetime, and he simply appeared behind him. Ng Tianhua spun around, throwing a desperate punch. But it was too late. Long Chen's hand was already pressed against the back of his head. In a cold tone, Long Chen said, "I wasn't planning on using this move to kill you. Frankly, I felt it was giving you too much credit." "Sovereign blood seal, God-slaying cross," Long Chen shouted, and a blood-colored cross appeared on his palm. With a powerful slam, Long Chen's hand struck Ng Tianhua's back. Ng Tianhua's protective divine light shattered instantly, his dragon scales as fragile as paper before this force. Blood exploded, and his entire torso, from shoulders to waist, was blown into a red mist. Everyone was dumbfounded, especially the resonant dragon experts who accompanied Ng Tianhua. They all turned pale, their eyes full of disbelief. The hidden dragon warriors were also dumbfounded. They had witnessed the terrifying power of Ng Tianhua firsthand and saw Long Chen struggle against his dragon blood power. As a result, they had been thinking of killing their enemies quickly and reinforcing Long Chen. Yet, when Long Chen decided to end it, he did so instantly. "Go in peace. In your next life, don't be a traitor," Long Chen said, pointing his finger. The sovereign blood seals was tearing through Ng Tianhua's body, immobilizing him. Hence, he could only watch as Long Chen's finger stabbed into his head. And then everything became dark. Ng Tianhua's death stunned countless people, and silence hung over the battlefield, until slow clapping broke it. After that, Yi Linfeng's voice cut through the silence. "Good, you have some ability. I'm happy to have such a powerful opponent." Ng Tianhua was dead, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Amidst the shock, Yi Linfeng emerged, calmly watching the battlefield. In truth, he had been observing from the shadows for some time, holding back to assess Long Chen's strength. He was an extremely conceited person. If his opponent were too weak, he wouldn't even bother killing them himself. However, when Long Chen killed Ng Tianhua, his attack was so marvelous that it changed Yi Linfeng's mind. As a result, he appeared before everyone. As Ng Tianhua's remains transformed into a giant dragon, Long Chen quickly tossed him into the primal chaos space. After that, Long Chen turned back to face Yi Linfeng, not surprised by the latter's appearance at all. He had sensed Yi Linfeng's presence the moment he arrived. Long Chen had refrained from going all out against Ng Tianhua for two reasons. First, as a traitor to the dragon race, Ng Tianhua deserved to be defeated by dragon blood power, a fitting end to cleanse the dragon race of its disgrace. Second, with Yi Linfeng watching in the shadows, Long Chen had to stay cautious to protect his people. After all, Long Chen felt like he had yet to figure out Yi Linfeng's true power. "Why didn't you save him?" Long Chen asked. "Aren't you concerned about losing a fighter and ultimately dying by my hands?" Yi Linfeng sneered. "Why would I? Other than wielding a decent weapon, he was worthless. Moreover, I don't need help to deal with you, Long Chen. You're simply not in my league. My power is beyond your comprehension." Seeing Yi Linfeng, the experts attacking the Hidden Dragon Legion halted and stepped back. On the surface, they appeared to do so out of respect for Yi Linfeng. But in truth, they were simply terrified of the Hidden Dragon Legion and the slaughter they had just done. No matter how these experts attacked, they couldn't break the Hidden Dragon Legion's formation. They could only watch as their comrades died one by one. Now the battlefield was littered with corpses. Since Yi Linfeng had appeared, these weaklings had the opportunity to back down without losing face. They all retreated to Yi Linfeng's side, looking like they would follow him blindly. But in reality, they simply wanted to let him finish Long Chen and the others. The Hidden Dragon Legion quickly regrouped around Long Chen. Both sides looked calm, though everyone sensed the brewing storm. The air was thick with the scent of blood, which signaled the impending clash. Long Chun looked over the hidden dragon legion. Only 2 hidden dragon warriors had sustained significant injuries, but they had already taken medicinal pills and were recovering rapidly. They wouldn't affect the group's overall power. With a confident look, Long Chun turned back to Yi Linfeng and said, "You seem confident of your strength, but today one of us will fall, and I'm certain it'll be you." In response, Yi Linfeng laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha. I like confident opponents, especially the look of despair in their eyes as they are dying. Do you know how much I hope for someone in the same realm to truly challenge? I wish I could taste the flavor of defeat." Long Chun grinned. "Well, congratulations. Today, your wish will be granted." "Is that so? I'm looking forward to it," Yi Linfeng replied, slowly walking forward. With a wave of his hand, he ordered his followers, "Stand back. You don't need to lift a finger. Just close your eyes and pray. Pray that Long Chun is strong enough, for only then will you get to witness my true power." Long Chun was impressed by his bragging, but he didn't want to be outdone. Turning to Tang Wan'er and the others, he warned, "Watch the show and witness your big brother Long Chen's unrivaled power. Today, I'll use my power to tell them who the king of this world is." Tang Wan'er had been a bit worried, but seeing Long Chun like this, she almost burst into laughter. After that, she led everyone back, giving Long Chun space to fight. Seeing his wanton and unrestrained figure, she felt a wave of emotion. Even when he was on the top of the 9 heavens and 10 lands, he was still as dazzling as ever. Tang Wan'er was convinced that her man was the world's main character. No other heavenly genius could steal his light. As an undefeatable battle god, no one could tear down his undefeated streak. Yi Linfeng smirked at Long Chen's bravado. "Your confidence is baseless. Do you think you can beat me with your borrowed dragon blood power? You should bring out your strongest moves now, or you'll die with regret." Yi Linfeng continued to walk toward Long Chun. With every step, his aura grew, causing the 10,000 Daos to rumble. His aura reached heights that matched Ying Tianhua's peak, leaving everyone stunned. After all, Ying Tianhua could only gain such strength by burning his essence blood. But Yi Linfeng hadn't even tapped into his full power yet. The space twisted around Yi Linfeng because of his energy fluctuations. "Faith energy?" Long Chun murmured, surprised by its incredible density. "That's right, this is faith energy, my faith energy. I am a god, Long Chun. A god can't be defeated. Now, do you understand?" said Yi Linfeng. Tang Wan'er and the others were taken aback. As disciples of the Wind God Sea Pavilion, they knew the significance of what Yi Linfeng claimed. That was why they were so shocked. Yi Linfeng was actually a sanctified god, a cultivator with their own inheritance, followers, faith divine pool, and faith symbol. Long Chun was also baffled when he heard that. He asked, "Does the Brahma line allow their followers to become sanctified gods?" Yi Linfeng chuckled, "Other factions don't, but my martial god hall can grant such status. Enough talk. I will give you 3 chances. If you can't block 3 of my moves, I won't kill you outright, but I'll kill all the women behind you. I'll tear them apart right in front of you, piece by piece, and make you suffer a fate worse than death." As if afraid that Long Chun wouldn't go all out, Yi Linfeng intentionally threatened Tang Wan'er and the others. And despite knowing it was a blatant provocation, Long Chun still seethed with fury. Tang Wan'er was his reverse scale. Threatening her was a surefire way to unleash his wrath. Long Chen's smile slowly faded from his face. His eyes became as sharp as a blade. Suddenly, starlight ignited around his body, casting a brilliant glow that illuminated the battlefield. A roar, resounding like a god's, shook the land. 8-star battle armor. Long Chun summoned his divine ring and activated the 8-star battle armor. In an instant, the sky was filled with the shimmering light of a starry sea, and 8 sun-like stars blazed in a loop behind Long Chun. In this state, Long Chun seemed like the ruler of all existences beneath the starry sky. The 10,000 spirits of heaven and earth could only prostrate beneath his feet. Tang Wan'er knew that Long Chun was angry, and it was because of her. After all, Yi Linfeng had threatened her life. From the mortal world to the immortal world, Long Chun had always loved her. He was willing to become a devil and slaughter all the 9 heavens for her. The hidden dragon warriors admired Long Chen's dragon blood battle armor, thinking it was unmatched in strength and beauty. But as the 8-star battle armor manifested, it transformed the heavens, and the starry sky behind Long Chun made him appear even more resplendent. It surpassed the dragon blood battle armor, dazzling everyone present. "You're a 9-star heir?" Yi Linfeng's expression darkened. He now understood why the higher-ups were so wary of Long Chin. The title of 9-star heir carried a cursed yet legendary reputation, a mythical power feared by all. "You shouldn't have threatened me," Long Chun spoke icily, his eyes sharp with a killing intent he could no longer suppress. "You shouldn't have used the person I love as leverage." Long Chen's killing intent continued to rise. He couldn't even control it. Perhaps it was due to intentionally restraining himself. Now that Yi Linfeng had touched his reverse scale, his suppressed anger instantly blazed. Yi Linfeng laughed in excitement. "I never thought I'd meet one of the fabled 9-star line survivors. Show me, then, the power of a 9-star heir." Boom! Forming a series of hand seals, Yi Linfeng summoned his heavenly fate disc behind him. This disc was pure white without runes or images. However, its appearance caused the earth to shudder as an immense divine might filled the realm, drawing heavenly Tao runes toward it. Even the energy of other heavenly chosen cultivators was pulled into it, causing them to retreat quickly to avoid being drained. All the heavenly chosens were stunned by this. To make things worse, this heavenly fate disc didn't only absorb the Doyan energy of heaven and earth, but it also extracted the core energy of these experts. "What is going on? Has his manifestation awakened?" asked a hidden dragon warrior. Tang Wanner shook her head. "No, he hasn't. The flow of fate of the 9 heavens has not changed, so no one can even try awakening their heavenly fate manifestation. Right now, the most important thing is to condense heaven vein dragon chi and become a human emperor. Master said that when the number of human emperors in the world reaches a certain number, the karmic luck of the 9 heavens will start transforming. That will be the optimal moment to awaken our manifestations. Yi Linfeng comes from the Brahma Pill Valley, so there's no way he doesn't know this. Furthermore, his heavenly fate disc is blank, and he didn't call out its name. Thus, he definitely hasn't awakened his manifestation. A divine retainer asked, "But why is his Doyan aura so terrifying? If we are near him, we won't be able to draw out any Doyan power. We can't even fight." Hearing this, Xiao Yu clenched his fists and said, "That's nothing. Look, Big Brother Long Chun isn't even a heavenly chosen, but his starry manifestation is so terrifying. I believe he will definitely win." Xiao Yu had become Long Chen's most loyal worshipper, and her intuition told her that Long Chun wouldn't lose no matter what. She didn't doubt it at all. Long Chen's starry sea manifestation swirled through the air. In response, Yi Linfeng's heavenly fate disc flashed, its sacred energy spreading like a domain. It quickly clashed with Long Chen's starry sea, causing heaven and earth to quiver. The void cracked and exploded. Heavens, space is being torn apart. Terrified screams rang out as countless black cracks appeared in the air. These two hadn't even started fighting, but the clash of their manifestations already resulted in such a terrifying phenomenon. If anyone were to stand between them, the power of their manifestations would crush the poor expert to dust. When Yi Linfeng and Long Chen's manifestations clashed, Tang Wan'er and the others finally recognized the source of Yi Linfeng's domain power. One of them said, "It's faith energy." Moreover, it was incomparably pure. Just how did Yi Linfeng gather such terrifying faith energy at such a young age? Yi Linfeng's manifestation continued to expand, his aura growing increasingly oppressive. His faith energy seemed boundless, and the immense divine might radiating from him felt as though it was overpowering Long Chun. However, Long Chen's starry sea manifestation remained steady and unchanged, exuding an air of deep mystery. Unlike in the past, when his summon manifestation erupted with a wild, uncontrollable energy, Long Chun now had perfect control over it. Thanks to the enhancements from the Radiant World Star Crystal, The once unruly force was now calm, like a pride of tame lions waiting for his command. This is the power of a 9-star heir? If so, you've really disappointed me, scoffed Yi Linfeng. Noting the lack of outward change in Long Chen's aura, his tone was full of disdain. Long Chen didn't respond. He stood like an unmovable statue. Gradually, however, his starry sky battle robe started to flash, its light pulsing faster and faster. Starlight emerged along his meridians, each point glowing in sync with the rhythm of the starry sky battle robe. Long Chen didn't move, more like he couldn't. Entering his battle state seemed to have triggered his meridians to awaken on their own, almost as though they were warming themselves up. At this moment, he actually couldn't move. As the spots on his meridians flashed, silky threads of starlight connected the spots. Long Chen felt his meridians reach an unprecedented toughness. Their power continued to rise. Long Chen hadn't expected the 8-star battle armor to transform this much. It was even more terrifying than before. Seeing Long Chen's starry sky battle robe flashing crazily, Yi Linfeng suddenly had a bad feeling. He pointed a finger and thrust it at Long Chen. In an instant, a sharp blade tore through the limits of spacetime and appeared right in front of Long Chen. Onlookers gasped in alarm. The attack was incredibly fast, almost impossible to evade. Yi Linfeng's attack came as a translucent blade of energy, streaking through the air so quickly that it was nearly invisible. Those watching felt an involuntary stab of pain in their souls, as if the blade were tearing them apart from within. The blade of energy instantly reached Long Chen's head, but Long Chen didn't move at all. Many experts cried out in shock as they saw it pierce his head. Tang Wanner's heart skipped a beat in fear. The blade seemed to go right through Long Chen's skull. But to everyone's astonishment, Long Chen was completely fine. Boom! Just then, the blade of energy continued past Long Chen's head and suddenly exploded, blasting a giant hole in the wall of the heavens. What? The crowd flinched. This was no illusion or fake attack. The sword had unleashed real, destructive power, which only dissipated after flying too far and succumbing to spatial resistance. However, this fact left people dumbfounded. Just what was going on? If it was not a fake attack, why did it pass through Long Chen's head without harming him? What just happened? Asked Xiaoyu. Long Chen dodged, replied Tang Wanner calmly. No, big brother Long Chen didn't move. Xiaoyu insisted, still puzzled. He did, Tang Wanner explained. He moved so quickly and with such precision that to us, it looked like he hadn't moved at all. Tang Wanner herself had been stunned at first and was forced to piece the scenes together. It wasn't just a matter of speed. Long Chen had likely manipulated spatial energy, making the dodge so seamless that it defied the spectator's understanding. 3 moves, right? Does that count as the first one? Asked Long Chen indifferently. A faint starlight glinted in his eyes as his meridians finished warming up. If you want it to. In any case, it'll only take me 1 move to kill you, replied Yi Linfeng. Though surprised by how Long Chen dodged his attack, Yi Linfeng didn't care. He had absolute confidence in himself. Then let me see what that move looks like, taunted Long Chen. Long Chen slowly shook his head and stretched his shoulders, cracking his back. After the warm-up, his astral energy flew smoother than ever. It could reach every part of his body with a single thought. Without warning, Long Chen moved, and almost simultaneously, another image of him appeared before Yi Linfeng. Startled cries erupted as spectators saw what seemed to be 2 Long Chens at once. It's an afterimage, exclaimed one of the bystanders. In the blink of an eye, Long Chen's fist skyrocketed at Yi Linfeng, leaving a silver arc as it moved through the air. Long Chen was as quick as lightning, his speed almost equivalent to Yi Linfeng's earlier attack. By the time people reacted, Long Chen's fist was mere inches from Yi Linfeng's face. Boom! The impact shook the heavens, and the world seemed to darken as the clash distorted the laws of 10,000 deaths. The onlookers felt a terrifying pressure grip their hearts, as though a hand were squeezing the life out of them. Many felt on the verge of spitting out blood. Long Chen and Yi Linfeng's power was incredibly condensed. Even without unleashing any chi waves or astral winds, their attacks almost injured the onlookers. They could now see that Long Chen's fist had struck Yi Linfeng's arm. The clash blew their hair back, and their powerful auras exploded into the sky. "He blocked it," murmured someone in awe. When Yi Linfeng had attacked, Long Chen effortlessly dodged. Now, as Long Chen countered, Yi Linfeng matched his move, deflecting it with equal ease. The spectators instinctively put themselves in the fighter's shoes, considering how they might handle such techniques or block such attacks. But in the end, they knew there was only one outcome for them: instant defeat. The fighters moved so fast that there was no way the spectators could react in time. Long Chen and Yi Linfeng remained locked in place, each trying to overpower the other. When their gazes met, their fighting spirits rose. Both sensed they had met a worthy opponent, and their fighting spirits surged. At that moment, their powers started to climb even higher, wild and unrestrained. Long Chen's starry sea swirled with increasing intensity, his aura roaring forth like a tidal wave. In response, Yi Linfeng's heavenly fate disk summoned a ring of 10,000 halos that ignited one by one, each ignition unleashing a volcanic surge of energy. Boom! The ground beneath their feet collapsed and transformed into dust. A split second later, the void itself seemed to detonate, forming web-like cracks across the air, and the sky trembled as if about to shatter like fragile porcelain. "Soft wind!" Tang Wanner shouted, and the Hidden Dragon Legion immediately executed her order. Just then, a strange sound rang out, and a wave of light exploded between Long Chen and Yi Linfeng. The shockwave expanded rapidly, shredding through space and crushing Grand Dao runes as it radiated outward. "Run!" Startled cries filled the air as the wave of death surged forward, catching those too slow to react. Even retreating to a safer distance was futile for many. By the time they realized the danger, the ripple of light had already reached them, twisting space around them. Some found themselves running in place, unable to escape, before the deadly wave consumed them, reducing them to blood mist. Meanwhile, Long Chen and Yi Linfeng's powers continued to escalate, their clash sending shockwaves rippling out in every direction, shaking the world itself. Tang Wanner and the others were in a defensive formation, like a boat floating on top of a furious sea. While they were flung away by the waves and thrown through the air, they were completely safe. Others were not as fortunate. Weaker cultivators perished immediately in the first wave, while even the stronger ones staggered back, coughing up blood as they scrambled further away, barely holding on. Suddenly, a deafening explosion erupted as a violent ripple struck the wind domain battlefield's barrier. The barrier shattered into countless runes, and new layers of barriers appeared, only to be broken one after another. Amid the chaos, Tang Wanner and her sisters caught glimpses of Yi Linfeng and the old fuckers outside the barrier. Yi Linfeng also saw what was happening inside, and he was stunned. He had anticipated a fierce battle within, but he hadn't expected it to escalate so quickly. That was too fast. The Brahma Pill Valley elders and other faction leaders watching from afar were both furious and horrified as they witnessed their disciples being annihilated in the wake of the deadly shockwaves. Boom! Finally, Long Chen and Yi Linfeng fell back. Tang Wanner and her group were left speechless, their gaze fixed on Yi Linfeng. Yi Linfeng's right arm was now exposed, his sleeve torn to shreds, revealing a runic arm bracer. The arm bracer was snow-white, looking like a refined piece of jade. It looked almost ornamental, yet the runes swirling on its surface radiated a sacred, powerful energy. I was wondering how someone could match Long Chen's physical prowess. "So, this poser is using a divine item," muttered Tang Wanner. Although Tang Wanner had been apart from Long Chen for a long time, she knew his physical prowess well. No one except Wild had ever come close to matching him. After a brief exchange, Long Chen and Yi Linfeng once more hurtled toward each other like twin meteors, their violent power creating shockwaves that tore through the sky, relentlessly battering the wind domain battlefield's barriers. No one knew just how many barriers surrounded the wind domain battlefield. These barriers remained hidden as long as they weren't disturbed. When Long Chun and the others entered, they could sense these barriers but didn't feel any effect from them. However, as their clash escalated, the barriers started to manifest. More and more shattered with each clash, gradually turning the battlefield more transparent. The spectators outside could now see every detail within, down to the last blade of grass. The sight of Long Chen's manifestation left them in shock. Witnessing a legendary 9-star heir was something they never thought they'd experience in their lifetime. Long Chen's fists danced with relentless power, each strike illuminating the sky with brilliant starlight, creating illusions of a starry river with every punch. The 10,000 Daos rumbled intensely as if the world was unable to bear this kind of power. Despite the onslaught, Yi Linfeng held his ground, using his arms to deflect Long Chen's strikes without retreating a single step. Every impact unleashed a wave of destructive force that rippled outward, forming a death domain. A deadly blend of astral and sacred energies so potent that it was unapproachable. Anyone caught within would be obliterated instantly. Witnessing this clash of titans, everyone was completely shocked. They were finally seeing the true strength of peak experts. While many of them were considered peak in their own sex, in the face of Long Chun and Yi Linfeng, they were humbled, realizing they weren't even close to this level. In a battle of this magnitude, most weren't even qualified to participate. Yet, a few peak experts stood near the battlefield's center, enduring the intense pressure that radiated from the clash. Just over 10 individuals, leaders of the junior generation, were bold enough to remain close. Although their power couldn't match Yi Linfeng's, they were on par with Ying Tianhua. They stood very close to the center of the battlefield, but they weren't there to support Yi Linfeng. Instead, they were using the crushing pressure to sharpen their own combat instincts. After all, the opportunity to witness such a high-level battle up close was too valuable to pass up. Standing there, it was as if they were participating in the battle, gaining critical insights from the sheer ferocity around them. But no one else dared to get this close. Not even the Hidden Dragon Legion, who kept a safer distance, as the mental strain at that range was overwhelming. Long Chun and Yi Linfeng's battle stunned everyone. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, their auras had risen to even more terrifying heights. "Are they monsters? Their auras are still rapidly climbing," exclaimed someone. It was clear that Long Chun and Yi Linfeng hadn't reached their peaks. They were still warming up, leaving the crowd to wonder if they were even human. "Big Brother Long Chun is incredible," gasped one of the hidden dragon warriors, his eyes wide with admiration. At first, they were worried for Long Chun, but now, they realized he had only shown a sliver of his true power back in the Wind God Sea Pavilion. Seeing the hidden dragon warrior's worshipful gazes, Tang Wan'er felt a swell of pride. In his starry sky battle robe, with starlight radiating from his body, Long Chun appeared wild and domineering, indescribably handsome. For some reason, she liked the vibe that Long Chun exuded, like that of an untamable wild horse. There was something about him, a wild, dangerous energy, that captivated her completely. "A 9-star heir? Ha! If this is all you have, then you're nothing special," sneered Yi Linfeng suddenly. Boom! The two of them fell back once again, staring at each other through space. The ground beneath them had disintegrated into a bottomless abyss, the very laws of space twisting around them, but neither was even panting or red in the face. A battle of this intensity didn't seem to be too exhausting for them. "How many moves has it been now?" Tang Wan'er shouted from a distance, reminding Yi Linfeng of his earlier taunt that he'd end the fight in just 3 moves. "The 3 moves will count when I use my true killing moves, not this pointless back and forth. Isn't that right?" Yi Linfeng replied with a straight face, not even feeling embarrassed. Yi Linfeng glanced at Long Chun, who shrugged and cracked his neck. Long Chun said, "Sure, whatever you say. In any case, your Brahma line and my 9-star line are destined to be mortal enemies. Any fight between us will be a life-and-death fight, so there's no point in saying all those bullshits. You seem eager for more, and I'm done warming up. So why don't we start the real fight?" An uproar exploded amongst the spectators. "What? A warm-up? A battle on that level was only a warm-up? The spectators could hardly believe it. Even the hidden dragon warriors stared in disbelief, reluctant to accept that the battle they just witnessed was anything less than full strength. After Long Chan said this, Yi Linfeng's eyes sharpened in interest. So, you do have more to show. Good. I'd expect no less from a legendary 9-star heir. You'd never survive a real attack from me otherwise. And if I accidentally kill you, that wouldn't go over well with the higher-ups, would it? Long Chun indifferently said, just make sure that confidence is real and not a cover for stupidity. Buzz. With a hum of energy, Long Chun raised his left hand, a rune glowing on his palm. In the vast sky above him, one of the stars suddenly extinguished. As it did, a miniature star manifested in Long Chen's left hand, glowing with a concentrated, intense light. The star then vanished, and a streak of divine light flowed through Long Chen's arms from left to right. When his right arm pointed at Yi Linfeng, the latter's prideful expression instantly vanished, replaced by a look of pure shock. The star in Long Chen's right hand shot forward like a bolt of divine fury. 1 star, starfall, Long Chen roared. A brilliant star shot from Long Chen's palm, tearing through the air like a comet. This attack was the product of his relentless study, modeled after the technique used by a disciple from the 9-star trial. However, his version was unique because he used his own methods to comprehend this technique. Not long ago, Long Chun had come up with a way to imitate this technique but never dared to use it because his astral energy was too sluggish. It was like an unwieldy hammer that he couldn't control perfectly. This divine ability was something he could only use once his control of astral energy had reached a certain level. Otherwise, he would only injure himself. Thankfully, the radiant world star crystal had caused his comprehension of astral energy to reach an extreme height. All of a sudden, his control over astral energy soared, giving him the qualifications to use this move. Long Chin knew that his luck wasn't good, so he refrained from using this move impulsively. Instead, he had been diligently circulating his astral energy, allowing it to undergo countless revolutions within his body. He waited until he could feel his astral energy flowing freely before daring to unleash the attack. 1 star, starfall. This technique utilized an astral rune to draw upon the astral energy of the 9 heavens. The astral energy gathered in Long Chen's left hand, but it would be released with explosive force from his right. This was a deliberate way to enhance the power and speed of the attack. In Long Chen's left hand, it was merely an ordinary star, but once released from his right, it took on a life of its own, imbued with its own spirituality and will. Long Chun had once been on the receiving end of this technique. Now he wielded it himself. The tiny star was only the size of a baby's fist, but it carried the power to rip through heaven and earth as it collided with its target. Boom! Yi Linfeng crossed his arms defensively, and his bracers gleamed as they absorbed the impact. Yet, he couldn't help but stagger away, his feet grinding against the ground. In the end, cracks splintered through his bracers, and by the 7th step, he coughed up blood. Yi Linfeng is injured? A chorus of gasps echoed. Moments ago, the two had been equals. Yet now Yi Linfeng was wounded with just 1 strike. The hidden dragon warriors erupted in cheers, awed by Long Chen's raw power. However, Long Chen didn't continue attacking and simply looked at his own palm with a confused look. It's a bit stiff. Although he'd refined his technique countless times under the 7 treasure-colored glass tree, there remained a gap between theory and practice. His astral energy still lagged slightly, reducing the power of the strike. Had it flowed perfectly, this attack would have been several times stronger. But for now it was more than enough. Yi Linfeng wiped the blood from his mouth and laughed, his excitement palpable. Good. This is what I've been waiting for. A worthy opponent. Ha ha ha. Yi Linfeng's excitement grew to a fever pitch as his arms trembled, and his heavenly fate disc emitted a golden spot that radiated divine brilliance. The cracks on his bracers mended instantly under the glow of this divine light. With a sinister smile, Yi Linfeng boasted, The faith energy I wield is the combined might of the Yi and Lin families. They've paved the way for me to become a god. And even while I slumbered, my inheritance continued to be passed down. I have countless followers, and my faith energy is enough for me to step into the divine emperor realm. As long as it remains unbroken, I am immortal. Before my slumber, there was no one in my era who could rival me. Now that I've awakened, who in this age can possibly match me? In front of me, you are nothing more than a tiny little ant. Yilin Feng pointed at Long Chun, flashing a wildly arrogant smile. The golden spot flashed repeatedly, covering his body in a layer of golden divine light, including the white arm bracers. After that, he waved his hand, and the void was torn asunder. Countless grand Tao runes spiraled out as ripples surged across the sky. Everyone was stunned. How could a casual wave of hand be comparable to a peerless divine ability? Yilin Feng had actually been holding back. Sorry, did I scare you? Has all your newfound confidence crumbled already? Don't worry, I can make this easier for you. I know how much you care about that girl. How about I kill her first to give you the confidence you need to fight me? Yilin Feng laughed sinisterly. Why must you provoke me? Asked Long Chun, her tone colder than ice. Everyone felt a jolt of fear as he spoke. His voice was no longer the same. It had turned low and raspy, dripping with a killing intent so intense it seemed to pierce their very souls, like a reaper's hook reaching into their minds and tugging at their fear. I only wanted a fair fight, a chance to settle things and see who stands above and who will fall. Why do you keep dragging her into this? Long Chun demanded icily. This fellow repeatedly taunted Long Chun with Tang Wan'er's safety. Long Chen's fury simmered dangerously close to erupting, but he did his best to restrain it and maintain his mind. Otherwise, his heart devil might invade his mind and take over his body at any moment. The last time it had surfaced, his heart devil had nearly taken over completely. If not for the silver hair void crusher injuring him mid-battle, he might have lost himself to that dark force, possibly forever. Long Chun couldn't let that happen again. Every moment, he stayed vigilant, knowing his own rage was the surest path to summoning that inner darkness. Ha ha ha! Yilin Feng threw his head back in laughter, delighted by Long Chen's mounting rage. Boom! However, his laughter was cut short by a deafening roar from Long Chun. It was a thunderous sound, as if the heavens themselves had split open. Violet chi flared up in the starry sea within him, igniting with a fierce intensity. Without hesitation, Long Chun charged at Yilin Feng, his fury channeled into raw power. Yilin Feng sneered, taunting him. Go ahead. Let your anger loose, you insignificant ant. He didn't forget to mock Long Chun, as if Long Chen's anger was the most delightful thing to him. However, just as Yilin Feng mocked him, a star appeared in each of Long Chen's hands. This time, these stars were twice the size of the previous technique. 2 stars, flying rainbow. Long Chen's furious shout shook the heavens. 2 stars swirled in his hands and flew out, manifesting twin rainbows. Arcing through the air from the left and right, the twin rainbows honed in on Yilin Feng, who instinctively tried to dodge. But to his surprise, he found that his faith energy had failed him. He was locked in place by these 2 flying rainbows. Such a phenomenon was something he had never experienced in this life. God's shield! Yilin Feng shouted, slamming his hands together to summon shields in his left and right hands. Boom! The shields shattered, and Yilin Feng staggered backward, grunting. Though he had managed to block Long Chen's attack, a dull ache spread in the pit of his stomach. He was shocked to find that a trace of Long Chen's astral energy had managed to penetrate his defense and hurt him. In response, Yilin Feng took a step forward, summoning layers of afterimages in the sky. He could no longer afford to hold back and started counterattacking. Have a taste of my attacks too, Yilin Feng shouted, specks of golden light illuminating his fist. The void itself seemed to ripple and explode from the power of his strike, and it filled the air with a chilling pressure. When the ripple reached them, the spectators felt an icy wave settle over them. This was Yi Linfeng's first counterattack, a terrifying technique that forced them to admit that he was qualified to act wildly arrogant. The pressure of his strike alone was enough to shatter their confidence and crush their resolve, leaving them with only despair. In response, Long Chen's arms blurred as he moved, leaving trails of afterimages in the air. The stars on his hands swiftly converged. 3 stars, Soul Chaser. A single star, larger than the previous 2 and bigger than an average man's fist, shot out from Long Chen's palm. Boom! Yi Linfeng's fist smashed into the star, and a heaven-shaking explosion rang out. The world flickered chaotically as if the end of days had come. Though Yi Linfeng shattered the star, he felt his blood chi churn violently, like his fist had been pierced by a needle. Just as he steadied himself, another star hurtled toward him. What? Yi Linfeng was startled, not having expected another star to appear behind the first. He crossed his arms in front of him. Boom! He was blasted backward, only to find the third star waiting as he flew away. Boom! The final star struck him squarely, engulfing him in a chaotic explosion. Onlookers gaped, stunned by the ferocity of Long Chen's 3 successive attacks. Even someone as powerful as Yi Linfeng had to be severely injured, if not dead. Long Chen didn't wait for the dust to settle. Forming rapid hand seals, he summoned 4 astral pillars of light that pierced the heavens, locking down the space around Yi Linfeng. 4 stars, Devil Prison. The pillars of light converged, exuding such terrifying pressure that made every expert watching feel a chill run down their backs. If they were crushed by those pillars of light, wouldn't they be instantly obliterated? Divine Flame Ignition. Within the pillars, Yi Linfeng's roar echoed as golden flames erupted around him. A shimmering golden crown appeared above his head, projecting a radiant domain that stopped the converging pillars in their tracks. What is that? Xiaoyu asked, staring in shock at Yi Linfeng's golden crown. The crown wasn't a physical object, but its presence transformed Yi Linfeng's aura entirely. The divine energy it radiated was terrifying, paralyzing everyone with a feeling of helplessness. It felt eerily similar to the reverence they experienced when kowtowing to the wind god's statue. Tang Wan'er's expression became grave. That is a god's crown. In this state, he becomes a true god and can wield the power gathered in his divine statues. In other words, he's backed by the collective faith energy of countless followers, prepared by his 2 families. Then doesn't that make him unbeatable? How can anyone fight against such a force? One of the hidden dragon warriors exclaimed, his voice laced with fear. Tang Wan'er nodded grimly. It's true, this is basically cheating. He is a man-made god created through an endless supply of resources and manpower. Then, can Brother Long Chen still win? Asked another warrior. Before Tang Wan'er could respond, a deep rumbling sounded, making their hearts tighten. Yi Linfeng's domain continued to expand, and the 4 astral pillars locking him down started to falter. Boom! The astral pillars finally reached their limit and shattered. An ant is still an ant. No matter how strong, an ant cannot defy a god. Yi Linfeng's voice thundered across the heavens and the earth, shaking the very world. At that moment, he seemed to command all the laws of existence. Long Chen eyed the changes in the world, sensing the transformation in the energy of heaven and earth. When he heard Yi Linfeng's arrogant proclamation, a contemptuous smile tugged at his mouth. A god's power? You're nothing but a counterfeit. Compared to Lord Brahma's god energy, you are a speck of dust. A false god propped up by resources isn't recognized by heaven and earth. You're just playing pretend. Even though Long Chen could feel the oppressive force from Yi Linfeng's god energy, he noticed its lack of harmony with the world. This so-called god energy didn't resonate with heaven and earth, relying entirely on his heavenly fate disk to siphon faith energy and forcefully amplify his power. In other words, this fake shithead might look grand, but he was simply standing atop a mountain of resources built by his 2 families. Long Chen had wondered how there could be such a young god. But now he knew. Yi Linfeng's face darkened, his eyes flashing with fury at being called a fake god. Your mouth is loathsome. You will pay a price for it. Yi Linfeng spat, and in the blink of an eye he vanished. Wan'er, look out! Shouted Long Chun. The moment Yi Linfeng disappeared, a mix of shock and anger surged through Long Chun as he bolted toward Tang Wan'er and the others.